This conference will now be recorded.
So hello everyone, welcome to day 2 in our Google Cloud Platform Cloud Architect training. So yesterday was our first class where we got some understanding about what is GCP, why GCP, and slowly we try to activate our free trial account also. I hope most of you are able to do it yesterday itself. If you still have issues, I did not get any email, so my understanding is everything is good so far is my understanding. Now we had just stopped at the stage where I was showing we will see how to access the various GCP resources. We just explored about web console. Today what we'll do is we are going to provision a couple of resources. One is storage, which is more like your Dropbox, Google Drive kind of a stuff. Virtual machine, VM, most of us would have used it. If you have not used it, you're going to use it in the next few minutes. Basically, it's going to give you a vCPU and a memory with some storage. Basically, like um, a kind of a laptop in very, very simple terms if you're totally new to virtualized world. So that's what we are going to see. And yesterday, I had told the importance of projects. Whatever you do in GCP has to be inside a GCP project, is what I had mentioned. And when we activated the free trial account, Google created us already a project called as My First Project. So this was a project. Now you can continue using this project, no problem. There's no problem concerns because already you had activated your billing also, so you can continue using it. But the only thing, the drawback if you continue using this is you'll never know how to create a project. That is the only problem. So let's try to do something ourselves. So let's try to create our own project so that that project is what we are going to go use for the next of the remaining class in the entire training. So how do I create my project? It's very simple. Click on this drop down. So you don't need to do it together, so you can do it at a later point of time. So if I just click on this drop down, let me just show you. So just click on this drop that my first project. If you click itself, it's going to show. And one small implementation tip: whenever you get access to a new project, please don't click on the recent. That's going to be always showing what is recently you have accessed. So you have to always look at all tab. So say for example, you're going to work on an implementation project, a proof of concept. It's going to be for a customer. So if it's for a customer, they may have their own subscription. They will ask, can you please work on this? They would have given an access. So in that case, if you just go and click on this recent and say I have not received access, that's going to convey a bad message saying that you're not much well aware of GCP. So always click on the Alt tab when you get access. The reason is I have faced this kind of a problem where in some of the implementation I have granted access to people and they buzz me back saying that I don't have access. Then I had to do a screen sharing and show please click on this all button. Very small tip, but it's going to show you that you always have that skills in GCP. So just wanted to add this tip, folks, and then we will proceed further. Uh, Real implementation. And also, I guess we had discussed this yesterday. I forgot to mention. So when you're front of the customer, in front of the customer, don't do search for GCP, something like GCP console. Don't search, then click on it. That's going to be really a bad practice. Make sure it's not a big deal, right? So https console.cloud.google.com. I have seen certified people also using search engine to search it and then go. It's a very simple URL. So we can remember google.com. So why can't we remember as cloud architect console.cloud.google.com? So couple of clicks you are reducing it, and also you are showing that you every day work on GCP. So that's another tip. Should be type uh, directly always go to instead of searching GCP console. Never ever do this, folks, and that too in front of a customer. Please never do it. Third tip is if you get access to a, a customer GCP project, go and check the project GCP project in all tab and not in recent. The reason for putting it in bold is just shouting. I'm just shouting there so that it is all. Hope that is clear. So wherever it is possible, just jump in and keep on adding. It's going to be a running document. So let me create a project which we are going to use for the rest of our training. So how do I create a project? Simple. And why we are creating is we want to know how to create a project. Otherwise, we will not even learn how to create a project. And people who wants to prefer to use the other source of uh, creating GCP like Quick Labs, all those things, or Coursera, whatever it is, the official courses, there you'll never get this demonstration which you can do. So you cannot create a project in Quick Lab. So they will always give a lab project which you can use it, but creating a project will never be there. So we will not miss it out. So let's try to create a project by ourselves. So when I click on new project, so how did I came here? So let me just show you one more time if you have missed it out. So click on this project drop down. You will have on your top right hand corner new project. Click on that and you should come to a page like this. And please don't worry about this number. It may be 12 for you, it may be 25 for you. Don't worry. So that number is not required. So for you only 2 projects is enough. Maximum 2 project is enough. One is already created by Google for you, another one which you are going to create. So you can create this at a later point of time. So when it comes to creating a project, right, uh, there are 3 attributes which you need to remember. The first attribute is basically a project name. So let me just slightly zoom this. So a project name. So this is basically human readable one. So so this is for you to recognize, oh yes, this is the project, this is this customer's project, that is another customer's project, or this is your internal project. This is for your internal purpose to for not for for your reference, to give a name. So say for example, if you cannot remember an IP address, that's where DNS comes into picture. It is the same thing here. So you may not be able to remember the complete project ID which we are going to see. So instead of that, you are going to use your project name to identify it. It's basically a human readable one. So you can keep whatever you want there. So let me usually put, so if I just put something like this, right, it's going to show by default, it's always going to show my project some number. So you can also treat that this number is the number which is showing how many projects in GCP has been created. It could be a this thing. I'm just giving a hint, but I may not be totally correct here. So below that you get something called as project ID. So both are almost same. The only thing is that project ID is going to be stored somewhere in kind of a database. If it's a database, they wanted to keep it as a one string. So that's the reason it is hyphen separated. Uh, Now, I have done previously few batches, and the names which I used to always give was learn hyphen learn GCP PCA batch 5. That was the last batch which I did. Now, if I put it, it's going to show me the same thing hyphen separated and some suffix it with some numbers. The reason why it does it is because I have already used a project ID which was exactly like this. Now if I create one more with the same name, it's going to make it unique. So project ID has to be globally unique in GCP. That's the most important thing. and you don't need to do anything extra. Google is going to make it unique. So if, for example, right, if I say I don't want this name, I want something batch 5, I don't like this letters. If I just remove this, if I do this, it's going to throw me an error. Project ID is not available because I have already used it. And this is something like a small analogy for your project ID is like a human being, a person. Every human in this world is unique. So nobody can be, it could be a look-alike, all those things, even if it's twins, all those things. But every human in the world is unique. So it is the same concept here. Every project which you create in GCP is unique. So, so till the person is there, a project exists. And even if the project is, even if this project is deleted, right, you cannot use this project ID again. It is something like one person, it's unique. Something like one Sachin Tendulkar, one Dhoni. That's it. So as long as they're there, you are going to you address them. If they are not there, also their identity remains. That's it. So the project ID is going to be globally unique in entire GCP ecosystem, and Google is going to make it unique. Now, if you try to click create, it's not going to allow you because project ID is not unique. So you have to put something like something which is going to make it unique. Now, this project ID is very, very sensitive information. So you have to make sure you don't disclose this project ID with anybody except Google support, or maybe for the customer. That is okay. But outside world, you should never disclose it. So make sure you have something which is going to make it like very difficult for someone to guess it. So I never ever try to make put your email ID kind of a stuff which looks like the project ID. So prefer to use some kind of a suffix which is going to make it unique basically. So that is the important thing. The project ID has to be globally unique. And I mentioned there's one more attribute, 3 attributes. What is the third attribute? I'll show you towards the end because I will not have access to it. So called as project number. So this is project name. Then the below one which you have is your project ID. You can change it during the creation stage. Once you create your project ID, you cannot change your project ID. It is immutable. Project name is mutable. So the project ID is immutable, meaning during the once you create it, you cannot change it. That's it. So that is the stuff. So what I will do is I will click on cancel one more time. That was just to show you the explanation. Now what I'm going to give is I'm going to give a name like learn-gcp-pca professional cloud architect batch 6. So when I do something like this, it's an indication somebody has already created batch 6. Maybe one of you would have already created a batch 6, and that's the reason it's not allowing me to get a name which is just exactly the name of my project. So could be possible somebody would have created, or maybe one of our previous learners would have created it. So this is what it shows. Now if let it be there, so anyway it's going to make it little unique, uh, but every time I have to refer it back. So I have to refer it back. So what I can do is I can just mention it as uh, J for January. So I'm just going to mention it as that. The only reason why I'm making it simple is in some cases I'm going to use this effectively. So I don't want to go and copy my project ID very often. If I can remember it very easily, it's going to make me that. So professional cloud architect uh, 6, if I make it. Okay, just to make batch. I'm not sure whether special characters are allowed. Yeah, it's not allowed. Okay, let me do something like this, folks. Yeah, this is going to be a good one. All are hyphen separated. The only reason is I'm a bit lazy so that I can remember this easily. I don't want to copy my project ID every time when I'm doing something at a later point of time. So this is going to be easy for me to remember, but please don't do this in a real implementation. The project ID has to have some characters extra which nobody can remember because this is sensitive. In our class, we are going to make it very simple so that we are going to refer it n number of times. That's the only thing. And the project name should be in such a way that you can convey what is the environment. Each project, each environment in on-premise is going to be one project in GCP. So meaning, if I come to my tip, so if in your on-premise you work on a dev environment, one environment in on-prem uh, is equal to one GCP project. I guess everybody would have worked on dev environment, QA environment, staging environment, production, we may not have access to. So one environment is equal to one project. Now, if you have one environment equal to one project, make sure your project names when you give, right, mention it as hyphen demo, sorry, hyphen dev, hyphen QA, hyphen pre-prod, hyphen prod, something like that. You can mention it so that anybody looking at the project name itself, they'll come to know. But the project ID, make sure it has some randomness put there so that nobody can guess it. Why I'm saying this is later, maybe in next week's class when we are exploring more, you will understand the importance of this project ID. And this has to be globally unique. And there are a few reasons why it has to be globally unique, which we will talk as we progress. But if you are a very curious person where you want to know, can I know the reason right away? Some people cannot hold on to that secret. So if you are such kind of a person, I would say in my video already I have done this. It's a short 2 minutes video, unique. If I just search for unique project ID, why project ID has to be unique. It's just 1 minute or 2 minutes video. If you are interested, you can look into it. But we are going to get this answered as we progress. Okay. So coming back, let's create a project. So we have given a name, the project ID. We were able to tweak it and all. And we wanted to keep it simple only for this learning purpose so that we can remember it easily. That's it. And I will not have any organization. What is this? We'll talk again at a later point of time. So if you're using a free trial, it's going to be always no organization. You're not part of an organization. It's going to be something like more like a freelancer kind of a stuff is what we are currently doing now. So click on create. If things are all fine, I should see a project getting created, and this is where your notification window comes handy. So the notification window shows project 6 or batch 6 has been created. Now I can just click on, okay, it gets redirected there. That's good. Now we have created our own project. So that is awesome. Ignore this message because mine is already getting exhausted, the free credits, no problem. So I have a new project created. Awesome. Now what we are going to do now is we learned how to create a project. Now the third attribute which I mentioned, project number, is the one here. So this is the one which we were not able to do anything because it is internally generated by the system, and you cannot change it. And it is always a numerical, a 12-digit number. Project ID can be anything. Like usually it could be a combination of alphanumeric characters without any special stuffs. You have some option to change it during the creation, but once you have created it, you cannot change it. Now a small tip, again, when you're doing some implementations, I will definitely assure you that you are definitely going to do good amount of customer presentations, tender presentations, all those things. So at that time, say for example, if you're going and you're going to present it to a specific customer, and the customer name is customer A, assume. Now you want to show some personalization to the customer, right? This is also always an important part when you're showing it. Now if I just show you this project itself and show, then they will ask, Mahesh, what is this batch 6? There's going to be a question there. Instead of that, to make it as if like I have worked for this customer couple of days to make a personalized experience, what I do is go to project setting, and this project name is there, right? I'm going to change it to customer A. Assuming the name of the customer, the organization is customer A, that's where I'm going to present it. I'm just going to change it. I can change it n number of times. So, and project ID, I cannot change it. You can give a try, you cannot change it. Project number, you cannot change it. But project name, I can change it. Now, once I have done this, it shows that. Now, if I'm showing that I explain everything and show, let me show you a quick demonstration. When I just open the screen, right, what does that highlight to the customer? Looks like this person has done a good amount of work. He has customized the demo for us. That's a good name, right, which you get. So use this trick, and I use this trick always. And even in my videos, if you see, I change this to something like Learn GCP with Mahesh. It is just a brand which you're showing. So it's now in your customers, this thing, you're showing that you have done something specific to the customer. So always use this trick. It's very, very simple. Go to your project setting uh, and make sure you change it there. So a small trick, folks, and I'm going to keep it back, or I can just call it as batch 6. That's it. Simple. Batch 6, I can keep it. And what you see in the blue bar is basically your use a project name, not the project ID. Hope this is clear, folks, because in GCP everything is inside a project. So if it's inside a project, you should have an ID to it. It's like a house. Every house is going to have a house number or a flat number, whatever it is. So this is what it's going to happen. So in GCP, the ID cannot be changed once you have created it. It has to be globally unique. So we have created it. That's good. Now we will create a resource in this project. So the first resource which we are going to create is basically, so before I forget it, let me put the implementation tip. Uh, you when presenting a demonstration to customer A, make sure you change the project name. So nobody is going to look into the project ID, project name. It's just the front end part. Project name to uh, customer A to have a personal experience. Okay, so that's one thing. And if you are a person bit little hacky, so you can quickly see in your address bar, the project ID is going to be there. So let me just get it. If the view is not proper, I'll put it in a notepad. So if you see, it shows basically the project ID in the URL. Now, this is the reason why if you are seeing any video from a Googler who's showing, so if you just go to, there's an official YouTube channel for Google Cloud Platform. So if you just go, most of the time when the Googlers do a demonstration, they put it in basically a full screen mode. So if I just do like, it's going to be something like this. The reason is, and they will try to hide this somewhere, or even you remove this if they are showing the main screen. The reason is the project ID is very sensitive. That is a whole reason. So you understand, and now you know there are lots of talks going on in the current world, like with privacy, all those things. So project ID is also a private information, is what I would say. So it has to be kept secure. I'll talk about that why it has to be so secure at a later point of time. So this is one of the reasons why you see, or if you see any videos in from the Googler, they would have just masked this line. So these are some small sensitive informations which you should be aware of, folks. Now we have the project ready. let's go and explore some resource creations. Okay, so now if you want, you can search storage and go to the storage. But as I mentioned yesterday, don't do this for at least for a month. So till you get used to it, because you will always constrain yourself to only storage. You'll not explore anything. But I would prefer you to click on the hamburger menu and go and create a storage bucket. So under storage, you have a storage. So this is basically more like your Dropbox. When you click on storage, it comes to this page. So let's wait for the screen to come up. And if there's any question, please let me know, folks. What we have done, we have created a project ourselves so that we know how to create it. And by that, we also learned three important attributes: the project number, project name, project ID. Project name is something you can change it at any point of time. So project ID and project number cannot be changed once it is created. So this is what you see, Google Cloud Storage. So this is the most simplest, cheapest product which you get. So it's basically a placeholder. So you can treat this as, if I take the example of house, because we are using this house example n number of times, even for cloud architect, we thought like once the house is built, all those things. What is this Google Cloud Storage? If you were to get an analogy, I can treat this as my utility in my house. So where you're going to dump everything. So if you, it's not going to be trash, but maybe things are not used very often. You're going to put it in your utility. It is like that here. So anything you think which you cannot, where you don't know where to put it currently, just put it in the utility. Later, when you want it, you use it. Something like it could be a video, it could be a document, it could be a audio file or something, or it could be a PDF document which you don't know what to do currently, but just create a bucket and upload it here. If you want it to be in Google Cloud platform, you just create the storage bucket and create it. So how do I create it? Just click on this bucket. It's going to show up a screen where what should be the name of your bucket, all those details it's going to ask. So let me create a bucket. Now before I create a bucket, it already shows me a message. Pick a globally unique name, permanent name, naming conventions. So more on the naming conventions, we'll explore it at a later point of time. Uh, but it has to be globally unique. There's one question: is there any reasons why we need to have a multiple projects for multiple environments? Roles. So if it's a wonderful question actually from Kumar. So the question anyway, it is okay, it is to me actually. So if it's an interesting question, folks, you can put it to everyone so that everybody can read it. So any reasons why we should go with this option is uh, what is that? One environment. Where did I one environment? So this is going to be a tip in both the place actually. So one environment or multiple environments in GCP, why do you need to go is basically access control. So developer should have access only to development machine or development environment. He or she should never have access to production. So that is basically for that purpose. The access management only for that purpose is what it's recommended to have multiple projects for multiple environments, Kumar. That's as simple as that. Access control. All right, so let me just go back. So when I create a bucket, right, again, it is showing unique. Now you may not, don't get confused here. Whatever I do in GCP is going to be unique is what you may think. It's nothing like that. Only thing is that project ID has to be unique and the bucket has to be unique. Why it has to be unique, I will show you that in next few minutes. So a small tip, it has to be unique means you can use any kind of uh, a unique identifying generator globally, UUID, globally unique identifier. You can get it and use it. For example, something like GUID generator. So you can use it, you can put anything as if you want. So generate one So this is the ID, you can use it. This is one option, or most of the time when people try to do, they use this option, demo. There was a small network glitch and there's one question. I'll finish this part and then answer that question. So usually when people create it, they use this words demo. It shows the bucket name is already taken, meaning somebody has already created a bucket called as demo in some GCP project, and that's the reason I'm not allowed to use it. So similarly, if I use learn hyphen GCP hyphen with, I have already created a bucket like this. If I'm not wrong, it's already taken. But if I put one letter extra, this is going to be available. So basically this is available. So the name has to be unique. The bucket name has to be unique. You may think, because the project ID is unique, can I use a project ID? Absolutely, you can use it. But project ID is very, very sensitive. So please don't use this in the bucket name. So if I make this unique, what will happen? If I use my project ID, what will happen? I'll tell you in a minute by doing this, which is not highly recommended. I'm putting my project ID and doing it. And they say tip, don't include any sensitive information, meaning it should not have any email ID, all those kind of stuffs. It should not have a domain kind of stuff. If it's a domain which you're putting, it has to be verified, all those things. So any sensitive information should not be put, and I'm going against it, and I'll show you why it should not be put in next few minutes. So, and I'm just going to leave everything default. Now this part of the demo is not to make it what is storage, what are the internal workings of it. Let's not do that. This demo is only to make sure we understand how to get our hands dirty by creating some simple resources. That is a whole fun whole concept here, and we are going to do deep dive on storage in our module 4. So don't worry. The reason why I'm not explaining everything is we just want to create a resource. We want to learn how to create a resource. That's it. So let me click on create. Just gave a name which is unique. Clicked on create. By the time it gets created, there's one question. In what scenario will we create a bucket? Is it like a create a folder in a file share in our on-prem data center or NAS? If I want to keep uh, say for example, let me take an example, slightly out of topic, but just try to give you in very simple terms. I have a website. In the website, if there are some images which I need to serve it out, I'm going to put those images in this storage bucket. If I have a website and there is a video which I wanted to show, the introduction video, and I don't want to upload it in YouTube, but I want to upload it in my own website, I upload those video here and I link it in my application. So any unstructured information, videos, audios, images, all those kinds of stuffs, if you do it, so we are going to upload it here. Or if it's a backup, tape backups on premise, you want to keep it here, you're going to keep it. But it is not a network attached storage, so it is a blob storage, uh, Mohammed. So basically any kind of static data you want to serve, you use storage, Google Cloud Storage. More on this in our upcoming class, but here the whole intent was to just create resource and how do we interact with it. That's it. So it's exactly your S3 bucket, exactly equal to your S3 bucket in AWS, and blob storage in your Google Cloud Azure. All right. Now the bucket is created. Now once the bucket is created, I told it is more like your, it is more like your Dropbox is what I mentioned. So meaning in Dropbox, what will you put usually? An object, right? Let me just upload an object. So easy. Just click on upload. It's going to show up your laptop and you can just upload an image. It works. So it works fine. Just upload it. Normal drag and drop. UI based. Everybody is comfortable. Now, the reason why this name has to be unique is you have the capability in Google Cloud Storage to make this object viewable across the world with uh, making it as a public URL. So how do I do it? Basically is just to show you why the name has to be globally unique. And I'm going to do this again in our storage class, click on this three dots, permissions, and I wanted to give everybody in the world access. So everybody is going to be something called as public. All users is all internet users. If you just have access to internet, you should be able to access this object with a URL. What is the URL? I'm going to show you by this. So you're going to see this. There's a public URL. Copy this. Let me put it in the chat. You can also access it. Now, let me access it. Now, I'm able to access it anywhere. So you could be in any part of the world, but the image which was there in my laptop is now globally accessible. Yes. So, and it's going to be with the very low latency. We'll talk about all those stuffs at a later point of time. Now, look at this, folks. Look at it from a angle of a hacker. So if I had shared it like this, it is very clear for me. Now, if you start using GCP for a good amount of time, you'll easily look at the URL. Oh, you are using Google Cloud. That's what you will get it. And it's also very clear that you are using a storage bucket. Now I can easily say, this is what, folks. What is this? The one which is highlighted, the text which I have highlighted, what is that? Basically, it's my bucket name. My bucket name. Followed by my object name. So I am easily disclosing my bucket name. Now, this time, because it has to be unique, to make it simple, we made it our project ID itself as the bucket name. Now, you are disclosing very sensitive information by making this. Now, that is what we should avoid it. And URL, whenever you create any URL, right, it has to be unique. I cannot have two URLs which is uh, duplicate URLs. It's not possible in the internet, right? So to make your URL unique, if you expose the object publicly, to make that work only, the bucket name has to be globally unique. Basically, it is the same concept even in your AWS S3 bucket. Uh, Here also you're going to make the bucket name globally unique. Now, till and this is not exactly like your project ID. Even if you delete the project ID is not claimed back, right? It's not like that. So if I delete this project ID or this bucket, you should be able to create it one more time yourself. So the same name you can create it. Uh, Unless I don't delete it, I will not be able to do it. So this is the first part, folks. How you create a storage bucket using console. Let me just stop here for any questions. This was the first resource creation which we did. Hope it is clear. More on what is Google Cloud Storage we'll discuss. But now the only thing is that how do you create it and how do you quickly make a document? Now, for example, if I want to share some quickly a document, I can do it something like this, which is publicly shareable. I can just put it there. That's it. So that's the first part, folks. Any questions so far? Can we create multiple buckets? Answer is yes. With code to be what could be the impact when you are sharing the project name via creating an account storage account? So we'll talk about that, Vijay, at a later point of time because it's going to be totally a jump, a shift. So when we talk about IAM, identity and access management, from today itself, the second half of today, you will be able to see it. So where do I see the URL? So when you create a resource, right? If you go to the bucket, when you create the bucket, when you create the bucket and make the object public, you are going to have something called as public access. So you can see this URL by just clicking on that copy, Mohammed. So that's how we are going to see it basically. Only if you make it public. Now, if I make it normal again, it's not going to work. So if I click on edit permission, I don't want the entire internet to access it. I'm just going to remove this. Now it's not going to be public. Since it's global, anyone will use since it is global, anyone will use create. No, sorry, I did not understand the question there. Uh, so even though the bucket name has to be globally unique, unless you don't expose it, you'll not be able to access it. For example, let me just upload it. So I'm still able to see the after the refresh also. Okay, let me just do that. So there's going to be cached basically. For 1 hour, it's going to be cached. So because you made the object as public. Now, now that's going to be there. Now, if you just try to do something like this, I have uploaded a second object. Let me know whether you are able to access this, because it is cached. Whenever you make an object public, right, it's going to be cached for 24 hours. I have to remove the cache, then only it's going to work. Now, can anybody try this? You know the bucket, the object which I uploaded, it was damaged too, but you will not be able to get it. Even though I am the owner of this project, I myself cannot access it, and it shows anonymous callers does not have access. So that is the reason why, Kumar, you will not be able to access it. And the previous one, you can still access it. I can also access it if I see it. Uh, I can still see it, even though I removed the public, because the reason is it is cached, basically. So it's going to take little time to get invalidated. So if I just put something like, you just try this, it's going to be totally invalidated. So put some extra querying string, it's going to be invalidated. That's it. All right, so that was the first part. So for me, it is showing multiple project ID and quick start of free trial, how to remove the projects from the organization. Do you have an organization, Vijay? You have an organization created? Uh, no organization. So now if you have created multiple project IDs and quick start of how do I remove the project from the okay, no organization. So if you don't have the if you want to delete your project, so okay, maybe I will take all the questions once I finish this part. So okay, let me slightly rearrange this. Now we created one resource. I'll just answer Vijay's question in a minute. So where's that? I have created one resource. It shows me one bucket is created. Now I can go look into it, delete it if I want, or even if I leave it, it's not going to incur cost, because Google is going to give you some quota. There's going to be a quota only if it exceeds that volume, then the charge is going to be applied. It's going to be taken from your free credits. Otherwise, a bucket is not going to incur any cost basically. Now to answer the question of Vijay, I have created a project. Now how do I delete it? Basically, you need to go to this project setting. So if I click on this project setting, you'll have this option of shutdown. What is migrate? We'll talk about that at a later point of time. It's going to be a overkill if I start explaining everything. So if I don't want this, I can click on shutdown. Shutdown, it's going to be a soft delete. After 30 days, the entire project is going to be wiped off. But if it was accidentally deleted, you can just go and restore it. So that is the reason they give you a shutdown, sorry, a soft delete of 30 days. So you can just click on shutdown. It's going to remove your project after 30 days, Vijay. So this is the option which you can leverage. And you can also go and see projects which are deleted in the past by just looking at this resource, manage resources. If I click on manage resources, basically, these are my projects. Now, and if I click on resource pending for deletion, these are the projects which is pending for deletion. So after 30 days, they are going to be deleted. The batch 5, because I finished it recently, I have deleted it. So it's going to be deleted in next 30 days. That's it. So that's how you can remove. Basically, there's no option of remove. You are going to delete it, Vijay. Hope that answers the question. If it's not, please let me know. I'll answer your question if it's not done, if it's not clear. So if any workload in the this there, it will allow to shut down. It's going to be automatically. Everything is going to be shut down automatically. It's like your power off switch. That's it in your laptop. When you do it, whatever is running, any process, it's going to shut down. It is the same thing. If you have a virtual machine, if you have some storage, everything is going to be removed basically when you shut down the stuffs. All right. Now let's go back to our slides. What we have done is we have learned how to create a storage bucket using GCP Web Console. Now let's create one more resource. Two is going to be always good. Virtual machines. So a VM. So and most of the time we are going to use Linux VMs only, and that was the reason yesterday I asked, do you have Linux skills? If you don't have it, you are going to learn it when we start exploring it. Now I wanted to show how to create a VM. When you shut down, you are not going to be charged. When you are shut down, Google is not going to charge you. Basically, all the resource is going to come into read-only mode. If you have a VM, it's going to come into read-only mode. Now, when you try to restore it, only then you have to go and start it. So Google is not going to charge you for the next 30 days if you shut down the project. All right. Now, uh, now before I go and create a VM, right, I wanted to show you some important things. So this is like a teaser to the next module. So click on the hamburger menu, go into my IAM, access identity and access management, which we are going to spend a good amount of time in the second half of today's class. If I go to my IAM, why I'm showing you this is there's an important concept which we need to learn throughout our class. So this is the step. Now, please note here, there's only one entity or one entry there, which is my email ID, learn.gcp 2022, and this user is having role owner. Nothing else is there, folks. Now, towards the end of our session, you will see now I guess maybe in the next few minutes itself you'll see one entry added already. What is that entry? We will see it now. I'm just going to leave the screen as is and create a duplicate screen so that I can use this as my reference. What happens behind the scene when we go and create a virtual machine? I wanted to make it very clear. um, and also let me go to the home screen. So I was in IAM where only one user details is there, and to go to the home screen I just click on my Google Cloud platform. So when I do it, I come to the screen basically. Now let me create a virtual machine. How do I do it? You can search it, which we don't want to do. Click on your hamburger menu, scroll down, you should see under compute option, compute engine. So if you click on this compute engine, for the first time when you click on it, right, something is going to happen behind the scene. What is that? API, compute engine, is getting ready. It's going to take few minutes. What is it doing behind the scene is, there are a few things which is doing it behind the scene. One is it's creating an IAM role, a role which is going to be used heavily by virtual machines basically. It's going to take few minutes. Now if you are interested to know what is happening, you can just come and refresh the screen. So we'll refresh it once the API is fully enabled. So this is the first step it is going to do. So then you may ask why compute, when we did storage bucket, why something like this did not happen. The reason is certain resources like storage are already enabled. The APIs are already enabled to use it. In GCP, everything is APIs. application programming interface. So everything is in REST API format. Even this user interface behind the scene, when you click, it's going to be an API only, basically. Um, Certain APIs are always not turned on because they may incur cost. So if you want, you can go and use it. So this is a standard question which I get it from customer. Now, if I buy a subscription, Google Cloud subscription, activate my subscription, can I use virtual machine? Can I use Kubernetes? Or can I use storage only? They will ask. It is basically you get access to every service. It is only the API which you need to enable. If you don't like this API, go and disable it. That's it. So it's all, every resource you will able to access. It is only if you want to control it, go and disable it or enable it. It's your call. Now the API is enabled. I can go and create it. Before I go and click on create, let's see the screen. I'm just going to leave the screen as is for our reference. If I go back to again IAM, Identity and Access Management, click on it. For your surprise, you're going to see one more entry or few more entries, I would say. More than one entry, you're going to see it. Not showing up, no problem. Just refresh the screen. Live demos will always have this. So refreshing the screen is one of the best tip which you can get when you're doing some live demonstration. It's not going to reflect quickly. So just refresh the screen. You should be able to see it. So caching is going to be there. Even your storage one which you saw, cache was the one which was impacting us. Awesome. Now what do you see, folks? So you see two more entries. Let me slightly zoom this. Okay, you see two more entries. Previously it was only one entry which was my email ID called as owner. The second, now when I did virtual machine API enablement, two entries got created, two email address are created. Now just look at this email address and comment, let me know what is that observation which you do. Ignore this one, folks. This is mine. So I want you to focus on these two things and let me know your observation on it. What is that which you observe? I'm not asking what is an editor role, all those things, but just looking at the email ID, what do you get out of this, folks? You're very close. And when you are answering anything right, when I ask a question, put it as a private chat, folks, so that we'll not bias others. Let's give opportunity for others to also think. Mohammed, you're very close is what I would say. And you are on the right direction. Anybody? The default entity of the machine. Okay, that's going to be a advanced level, advanced part, Vivek. Yes, that's going to be the thing. But for now, for others, with just the context, what we did today, we created a project today, right? In that context, do you see something? Project number, absolutely correct, Mohammed. So this number, copy it. It's nothing but your project number. So you see a quick use of your project number. Now if I just open this in a notepad for a better view, now this is an email ID and the domain is going to be something called as G service account. So we'll talk about that at a later point of time. What is this? This is usually used by machines, as Vivek mentioned. This is my project number. Now you will really now appreciate why this project number should be kept sensitive. Now assume you shared your project number. I can easily predict, not predict, I can easily know what is your service account. I'm just going to replace your service account. If your project number is something like this, I can easily do it because the remaining text is always standard. The remaining text is always standard, and we know project number is also going to be globally unique. Now if you disclose it to someone, a hacker who is good in GCP, he can easily come to know the email ID. Now, just because knowing the email ID, you may ask, can he get into the system? No, totally no. But there are ways. If he's well versed, he will look for some loopholes in the system. Now, If you ask then why Google is not taking into this consideration, now it's your responsibility to make sure you keep these information secure. It is, you cannot blame Google here. Yesterday we talked about trust and security, all those things. Now we are saying it can be hacked. If you don't keep your credentials very secure, nobody can do it. So that is the case. Same thing happens here. So that's why project number and project ID should be unique. So to just make it very clear whether it is project number or not, just copy it, click on your Google Cloud Platform logo or the text. It's going to take it to my home screen. Go to my, it's, and I'm going to do a Control F, paste it. It gets highlighted, meaning it was exactly what Mohammed Mansoor mentioned. It is basically our project number. So it is very sensitive and don't share it outside. Good. We understood something before we started our virtual machine. So there are certain IAM entries which gets created, basically called as service accounts. We'll see this later, what is service account, but it gets created well before the VM gets provisioned. Now, for a virtual machine, right, to get created, what is important, folks? For a VM to get created, what is very important? Now, I'm sitting in Bangalore. I want to provision a virtual machine in Singapore. Now, how will I connect to that virtual machine? Yes, Anil, that's absolutely correct. Anybody else wants to comment? What is the most important thing for a VM? It's a system, simple. And I'm sitting in Bangalore. I want to create a virtual machine in Singapore, and I want to connect and show you what is going to be the most important thing. So Anil, Vivek is correct. Anybody else wants to try it? Network. Network is the most important thing which you should have. And again, Google is going to create it for you without your a configuration. Yes, afterwards, if I want to connect it, so the network is going to be important. So first and the foremost thing, yesterday, the third point which we saw, global network. So without network, there's no cloud is what we mentioned. So that is the same thing is going to happen. So when the wheel was spinning, right, the compute engine was getting enabled, getting ready. What was happening behind the scene was basically two steps. One, it was creating those IAM roles. Two entries was created, basically, which we saw. This was the first step, which was getting created, was basically this IAM entries. The second one was basically a network. We'll talk about this network in detail, but just wanted to show you under networking. If you go to VPC, there's going to be a network created for us by default by Google. And all these things why Google does is to make you make your onboarding process faster. Now, if you're doing it for the first time, VM creation, and you have no knowledge or no exposure on networking, IAM, and if Google says first create a network, then only you can create a virtual machine. 100% you'll never learn, you'll never try to do VM creation. It's going to become very tedious. So to make your learning process, onboarding process faster, Google does these things behind the scene, basically. And any reasons why you should have 24 entries here, folks? It is called a subnetwork. We'll talk about what is subnetwork. But out of curiosity, what is that number 24? Why can't it be 25? Any reason, folks? This number we had seen somewhere yesterday, 24 with GCP, at least as of uh, today. Yes, Kumar. So it's basically those regions. Yes, people. So just wanted to make sure you are very alert. That was the only reason. Why not 25? So the reason is as of today, 24th of, and it's not because it is today is 24th, it is showing 24th. So as of 24th of January 2021, the number of regions which you have in GCP are 24 as of today. So maybe if you look into this recording at a later point of time, 24 regions. So when you look into this recording at a later point of time, maybe when Delhi or Doha comes up, it may be +1 or 2 basically. At that time, the network will automatically have a presence there. So it will have 24 showing there. So just wanted to show you that part. More on the networking later. Now let's go back to our demonstration of creating a virtual machine. And again, just a repeat, uh, will not go into the details of what is boot disk, what is a data disk. All those things will not look into it. Same like how we did with for our storage bucket. We are just going to give a name. That's it. We're just going to give a name and create a virtual machine. That's it. Just for our learning purpose only, folks. That's the only thing. And we will have a dedicated class on this compute engine. So each and every column I'm going to explain you. So what is this column? What is this column? So it's going to take 4 hours itself to entirely explain this screen itself. So now to make it very, very simple, what I will do is I'll just going to give a name called as batch 6 VM, batch 6 VM, and I'm going to put a small text here, web console. Why I'm putting that? To just indicate I created this virtual machine using the web console, just to make that differentiation. That's it. Now, whenever you create any virtual machine, right, it has to be part of a zone. Virtual machine has to be part of a data center. So by default, it's going to always show US Central. The reason is this was the first region which was created. So now you select a region and you're going to see those zones. Now yesterday itself we had seen US Central is a special zone which is going to have a special region which is going to have a fourth zone called as US Central 1-F. And yesterday itself we have seen a tip, the 24 regions, all the regions, take a look at it, folks. Any region you tell me, it's going to end with a number. So what tip which we learned is valid tip. So now I'm going to choose something in Singapore. First, let me show the Mumbai. There's some issue with Mumbai of late. So for Mumbai, the region name which Google has given is Asia-South 1. And in Mumbai, I have A zone, B zone, C zone. Similarly, say for example, if I check London, A, B, C. It does not always mean it has to be always A, B, C. Most of the regions is going to have A, B, C as a zone. Now let me choose Singapore for this because I have seen this region works. Mumbai has some issues. The next closest region for me is going to be Singapore. So 4 hours from Bangalore. So I'm just going to take this one. And A zone, I'm going to take it. I'm selecting this zone. Zone is nothing but a physical data center. So that's it. Now I can go ahead and create it. So I'm just going to go ahead and create it. Now looking at the price, what is this, all those things, we'll keep it apart. We'll keep it later. We'll discuss it. We just know region and zone yesterday. We learned only that. We just wanted to do that. That's it. More on the VMs again in a later class. So we don't want to mix up. Now we wanted to know how do you create resources basically. So that's it. Leave everything default. Click on create. So one of the beautiful feature of GCP is a virtual machine can be created in less than 30 seconds. Less than 30 seconds. And believe me or not, folks, it's not a marketing stuff. I can show you this time in the next demo. When we do it, it's going to be less than 30 seconds. That's the beauty, which is not going to be the same thing in other clouds. So the VM is already ready, folks. The green tick indicates this virtual machine is already ready. It is provisioned in Singapore A zone. And it has a IP address, internal IP address, and an external IP address. I can also log into this virtual machine. So by default, in GCP, it's going to be always one specific operating system called as Debian. a Linux distribution. Now you may ask, can I create Windows? Definitely possible. We'll get into that at a later point of time. So let's not worry about the what kind of OS are supported now. We just wanted to create a virtual machine quickly. That's it. So we were able to create it quickly in a region of our choice. Can I log in? Yes, definitely you can log in. And you don't need to generate a key like your AWS or Azure. Private key, public key, add it, update it, and use putty. Not required. Just click on the SSH window. It's going to do a in-browser SSH is going to happen. So this was the reason why yesterday I mentioned, if you just have a browser, you're all good. You can do everything in GCP. That's it. So I have already logged into this virtual machine. That's 6 VM console. Now it's a virtual machine and it's basically Linux. So uh, you can run any Linux command as long as this distribution supports it. Now, if you want to do check some details, what is this operating system? Uh, Usually use some commands like something like cat etc os release. So this is one command which you can use to check what is the operating system used, the kernel. Basically, it is Debian Linux. Debian 10 is what you are using. Now, if you want to know more details about the VM, if you are aware of the Linux, you can go ahead and query it. Say, for example, the CPU, LS CPU. If you just type, it's going to show what is the CPU it has. It has going to have 2 vCPU, basically. So like this, now it's a virtual machine. Now, if you have a virtual machine, what and all you want to do, you can do it. Now, I want to download a software, go download it, no problem. So uh, if you have a movie file or somewhere you want to download it to your virtual machine, just go download it. And the only thing is that you have to do it in a terminal mode. That's it. If you want to have a GUI mode, that is also possible. Uh, all the combinations are possible, or if you want a Windows, even that is possible. So you have a virtual machine, play around with it. Now say for example, if I were to install a software like Git, so what I do is basically update my package. Because this is the Debian stuff, I'm going to update my package using sudo. People with non-Linux background, sudo is basically to do a switch to a root user. So certain stuffs in your Windows system, you need to do it as a administrator, right? In Linux, it's going to be basically like a root user. So to switch to a root user, you are going to use sudo, and apt update is basically updating your packages basically. Now once I have that updated, I can install my software of my choice. So Git is what I wanted, which is basically a version control system, and I can install it. That's it. So I can install it and I can use it. Now, whatever you can think of doing it in a virtual machine, you can do it here, folks. And it has also an external IP address. That's the reason it is connecting to internet also. So meaning I can do ping google.com. It's going to work. You want to get some data, you can get it. So it's a virtual machine. Use it as per your requirement. Now, one important thing when you do this kind of demos, right? You need to do this. After you finish it off, please make it as a habit of cleaning up the resource. Uh, in the beginning, you'll forget it. So if I go to my home screen, you will definitely forget it. You will be excited that you created a resource, but you'll forget to delete it. That's where this home screen or the dashboard, maybe you create it today, tomorrow when you come back and look into the console, this is going to hint you that there is one virtual machine. So clean up it, because if a virtual machine is running, there's going to incur a cost basically. So you don't want to incur a cost. You may say it's going to be deducted from my free credit only yet. Yes, it's going to be from your credit only. You're not going to pay anything from your pocket. The free credit of $300, from that it's going to be deducted. But the good thing is you have to cultivate this practice of, if a resource is not used, stop it. You cannot do this in on-premise, but you can do that in cloud. That's the benefit which you get. You don't want it, you can stop it. Maybe tomorrow you want to again continue, then you stop it. If you say I don't need this virtual machine anyway anymore, just delete it. Just delete it so that you will not incur extra cost. Now this is a good practice. The reason is you understand how cost effective you should be. So I would say being little stringy in the beginning of your learning process, it's going to make it very, very helpful. I can just share one of my real experience here. Um, uh, because I create once in a year an account and use the entire account for the whole year. It's only $300 for my learning purpose itself. I was using this. So I used to follow this practice very effectively. So, and there are scenarios where I guess in 2007 or 18, 17 or 18, if I'm not wrong, I was still left with $60 at the end of the year because I followed that practice very well. And this became like part of my routine itself. And I was doing the same thing even in an organization. So the CEO found this very effective and he sent me an appreciation mail itself saying that it was a startup actually. So he sent me an appreciation that uh, this approach is really good, being cost effective for each and everything, whether it's going to incur cost or not. So he appreciated it. So because you follow that practice from the beginning. So that's the basic stuff. So what is the difference between stop and pause? Is pause billing also be stopped? So we will not get into those details now, Shanti. The reason is it's going to drag us to another topic. So basically, if you want very simple, stop is you shut down your virtual laptop. Pause is basically like your hibernate. So when you do the hibernate, it's going to go into an hibernate mode. The billing would be there for your storage, basically. So we'll talk more about stop, what are the difference, all those things. But basically, it's your difference between your shutdown and hibernate, basically. So the only reason why we are not going so detail is it's going to drag us to virtual machine class. We don't want to do that. We want to just get our hands dirty by doing some resource provisioning so that we know how to do those things, what and the impacts it's going to happen. We created the resource, we deleted the resource also. Now we have done the first part of our demo, so which took us almost an hour. So first part is done, GCP web console. The next part is little difficult. We have to do everything, virtual machine creation and a storage bucket creation using command line, CLI. So the first one was GUI, graphical user interface. The second option which we are going to access GCP resource is via command line. So this is going to be important. Now you may ask, should I learn the command lines, Mahesh? Definitely you have to learn. It is not because I'm saying, it is Google who's saying it. So if I just go to the official documentation, the same official documentation, under this you have something called as exam guide. They are going to give us some guidelines, what and all components you should learn or topics you should be well aware of. So in that, if you see, right, there is one specific line. mm, if I just search for G Cloud. Okay, this one. Interacting with Google Cloud programmatically. Consider including Cloud Shell. We are going to talk about that. Cloud SDK, Cloud Emulator. So this is in the exam guide itself, folks. Now we cannot just miss it out. So the reason is they are saying that you may expect in the exam some commands to do something in the command line itself. So they may expect you to be aware of that. And it is very clearly mentioned in the exam guide itself. It's not me saying. So this is our reference material. Whatever we want to do, we will refer to this guide itself because it's official. Okay, so learning command line is very important from the exam perspective. Now there's one question from Vijay. In AWS VM instance storage similar like GCP will have temporary storage as well? Yes, it's going to, in AWS it's called as block storage, if I'm not wrong, block persistent storage, something like that. Here it is going to be called as PD, persistent disk, Vijay. So for AWS to GCP folks, right? So this article is going to be good enough, I would say. If you feel you want to start comparing everything, this article is going to be a good one. You can look into it, and we'll start comparing it definitely when we go. Uh, so if you are from an AWS background, in AWS, in GCP, in AWS, it is called as Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud, EC2. It is nothing but compute engine, which we just created. Storage, Google Cloud Storage, simple storage service, S3 bucket. So this is an article which you want, you can refer to it so that it's going to give you that quick map. If you are from an AWS background, if you are from an Azure background, I heard yesterday few of you were with Azure background, just change this to Azure. And again, this is an official material, folks. So always prefer to refer to an official material. Now, if I just search for AWS to Azure, right? Sorry, AWS GCP, if I search, I get some link, eWeek. I'm not sure whether it is biased or unbiased document. Better to go with official documentations. So for Azure people, you can use this Google Cloud for Azure Professional. Similarly, in Azure, they are going to call it as compute engine, all those things, virtual machines stuff. You can use this document. Okay, there's one question from Anil. G Cloud is interactive in the exam or they restrict it? In the exam, right, it's going to be one screen where you need to answer the questions, multiple choice, multiple select. They will not give you a lab where they will ask you to write a command or anything. So you should be aware of the command basically. So they're not going to give you access to a Linux machine and ask Mahesh, try to create a virtual machine using gcloud command. They are not going to ask you that, but you are expected to know the command. So no access to the outside world will be there, except that a screen where you are taking the exam. Hope that answers your question, Anil. It's not going to be interactive. It's just going to be, they are going to ask you the question, how to create the stuff. Okay. So I guess before we get into the command line option, we'll take a 10 minutes break, folks, because it's almost an hour. We did not take a break. So let's take a break. Once we come back from the break, we are going to explore the command line interface option. And in that itself, we have two options. I'll talk about that once we come back from the break. So take a break and come back. Let me stop the recording.
This conference will now be recorded.
All right, so before the break, we saw how to create resource using uh, the web console. Now let's explore how to do the same thing, same stuffs, storage bucket and a virtual machine using command line. And you get in command line uh, two different options which GCP provides. So if it's command line, definitely somebody will expect I have to do something in my command line, like PowerShell or something of that sort. In GCP, you don't need to again have that. The reason is they provide you something called as Cloud Shell, which is browser-based Linux machine. So you can access everything in a browser itself. That's another beautiful thing which you get. So if I just go back to my home screen, the the Cloud Shell which we saw yesterday, which we just clicked on, launched, and we did not explore much, is what we are going to use now. So let me click on this one, launch, and if you are clicking on this for the first time, there's going to be some pop-ups to show you that, okay, the importance of all those things. Then you can just use it. So this Cloud Shell, right, is totally free. So we'll explore each and every features of this. And I'm a great fan of this Cloud Shell. Most of the time I spend time here itself in my day-to-day work. So when I click on this, right, it's going to show me welcome to this, all those things, and it's also going to show my project ID. Now, this is an important thing when you are doing, because we know in GCP, whatever you do, you have to do within a project. Now, when you do something in Cloud Shell, it's going to set this project ID by default for us. And this is what this yellow color line indicates. So the project, so your is set to this session, meaning whatever I do, it's going to be provisioned in my batch 6 project, basically. Now, before we start using those specific commands, right, I wanted to highlight some few things about this Cloud Shell. So this Cloud Shell is a Linux machine, provisioned free of cost. And this Linux machine is not attached to any project in to your project. So it is actually another GCP project which we will not have access to. They have provisioned the virtual machine there, and they have given access to my account. If I just use this command, I have to authorize it. So I'm going to use this. So this belongs to my email ID, not to the specific project. So batch 6, I can use it. Batch 5, I can use it. Or if there's any other project, I can use it. So this is attached to a account, not to a project. Please remember this. So this is the first important thing. And this is a virtual machine I mentioned. So what is the operating system? What is the CPU, memory, all those things? If you want to know, you can just type cat etc os release. This is also a Debian 10. So Google heavily uses Debian 10 is what we can get it easily from here. It's a Debian 10. And if you want to know the CPU details, you can type this. So they give you something like, it's a 4V CPU system. And if you want to know the memory, all those things, free minus M, roughly around 16 GB or so. Minus M stands for megabytes. So if I make it as G, it's going to be 16, 15 GB. So this amount of data, so sorry, this amount of compute, 4 vCPU, if I'm not wrong, 4 vCPU. Let me just see whether it's 4 vCPU. Let me just do one small check, folks. Is it 4 vCPU? Uh, yeah, it is 4 vCPU. So it's 4 vCPU and 16 GB of RAM. This is the compute option. This is totally given free for your email ID, for your Gmail ID, whatever you have activated it. So this is one important thing I would say, like totally free. You can learn things. So even after 90 days, when you're once your this thing is expired, right? The trial period is expired. You will still have access to your Cloud Shell. If you want to do something, learn some Linux commands or anything, you can leverage this basically. So that's the first thing. And if it's a virtual machine, you should also have some storage, right? So if I put ls, is basically to list all the items in a Linux machine. So you see some folders which I have already created: cloud architect, data engineer, some files and all. This is going to persist even if I close this virtual machine and come back. The reason is there is a specific disk which they attach. Basically 5 GB of persistent disk is free. So if I use this command called as ls block, it's going to show me the details of all the disk, and one of the disk is /home, where 5 GB is going to be provided free of cost to me. So how much I have used, I can use it, check by putting this command df minus h. So 19 percentage I have used, meaning out of 5 GB, 3.7 GB is still allocated to me. I can use up to it. Maybe like 2 movie files itself I can put. If it's a very high definition file, I can put it 1 file easily and still retain it if you want. So that's just a small uh, number I wanted to give you. So a movie, Ultra HD file itself, you can keep it easily for free in GCP using your Cloud Shell there. So uh, memory free, storage free, compute free, The OS which is used is Debian. What else is available? So this is basically, I would call this as your Swiss knife. The reason is n number of components are pre-packaged in it. It's like a ready-made food which is there. You just need to start using it. That's it. So for example, if you are from a Java background, you need to install Java, right? But here it's already there. Java is going to be already there. If I just use this, I can see Java 11 version is there. If you are a Python person, you want to write some Python code, Python 2 is there, which is deprecated in last year itself. Python 3 is there. If you say some other language is supported, say for example .NET. .NET is also supported. Let's not make the Windows users sad. So .NET is also supported. So you tell me it's going to be there. Go. So okay, Go language. So maybe the syntax is different. Go, Go is there. So all the runtimes are pre-packaged. Now you say I'm not from a developer's background, Mahesh. Is there anything else which I can look for? If you're from a database background, so you have MySQL client installed. So similarly, you have pSQL client installed, Postgres. So you have this thing. Now you say, I'm not from application development. I'm not from database. Is there anything else for me? Now, if you're looking for some slightly advanced concepts, containerization, all those things, when you think of containerization, the only runtime which should come to your mind is always Docker. Docker is also installed pre-built to the latest version. If you search, it should be almost closest to the latest version. Now Docker is there, and if you are focusing more on DevOps kind of stuff, definitely Terraform is what you are going to expect to have. So it's going to be also there. Then any advanced stuffs like kubectl, which is going to be for Kubernetes, even that is going to be there by default. So sorry, it's going to be I should put some words. Okay, I'll, because I don't have any Kubernetes running, so it's going to show me that. But these things are going to be there pre-packaged, so you don't need to do any installation. This is pre-packaged, Kumar. So everything what you need basically to work in terminal mode is going to be there in your Cloud Shell. This is Cloud Shell attached to your email ID. Please remember this. This is very important. We'll come to at a later stage where you will see the virtual machines which you create. It may not be attached to your email ID. What Vivek mentioned will come into picture. So this virtual machine is attached to your email ID. So what is the access you have? The same access is what you're going to have even in your Cloud Shell also, basically. What else? Free storage, free memory, free vCPU, n number of tools inbuilt. If you're not so comfortable with command line, right, you want a UI, then you have an option called as an editor. You can use this. So since I'm in a private window, I'm just going to allow my cookie so that I can open it up. So not everybody may be so comfortable with command line, but if you're comfortable with UI, you can also open up some, have some editors option. Let me just show you that. I'm just enabling the cookie because that expects the cookie to be turned on. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So cookie is enabled. Now let me launch my Cloud Shell. Cloud Shell. Now, for folks with non-Linux background, if I type pwd, it's going to show me something called as uh, print working directory. It shows my current working directory basically. Okay, so if I put ls, it's basically Linux command to show list all the stuffs. Now if I want to see this content of this file, right, people with Linux background will use command like cat. It's going to show you that readme file. So this is one way. If you have some editor, vi editor is going to be there, you can use this. This is another option. People who is not comfortable with vi can use nano editor. These are all pre-packaged here. Now these are all for good for people who are comfortable with terminal, but if you are a person who is not comfortable with terminal, you use this command called as edit. If I do this edit the name of the file, it's going to open me a editor called as Cloud Shell Editor, which is going to be more like your visual code or like your notepad plus plus kind of a editor, where you can see some syntax highlighting, all those things very easily. So it's going to have more like a graphical user interface only. So let's just wait for this to come up. The trick is use edit name of the file, edit name of the file. You should be able to open that in a terminal, sorry, in a editor. Let me just wait for it to show up. So it shows. Now you want to add something, add it. This is batch 6. Now you want to do the normal traditional way, save it, do it. That's it. So this is how you can play around with the various tools in your Cloud Shell. Now if you want to switch back to the terminal mode, click on open terminal. That's it. So this is some good amount of components are there in your Cloud Shell. And whenever you log in, by default, you will always log into this /home, this thing. What is your email ID? It's going to be there. There. And since it's a normal Linux machine, you will also have other directories like /etc/ Google, OPT, all those things. The standard traditional stuff is going to be there. Now, if I put print working directory, it is / print working directory is currently /. Now if I go into a specific folder like, or a directory which is opt, optional components I can install, I'm just going to make a folder like this, folks, batch 6. Okay, so I don't have permissions. I'm going to make it, I'm going to use sudo so that I should be able to create it. Batch 6 is going to be created. So let me go inside this folder and create a small, or copy that file which we had, uh, the file which is, this is /opt, and I want to copy that readme file which was there in my home directory. So if I do want to copy that, I use copy command. So folks who are from Linux, please don't take me wrong. So this is just to bring up everybody to the same page. So I use usually a command like this: cp home learn readme and put a dot. So if I put sudo only, it's going to work, or I can do this also. If I do this, copy, it's going to show permission denied. You can use sudo to exclamatory symbol. It's, if you do it, it's going to get copied. So the last command which did not work because of permission issue, you can use sudo to exclamatory, it's going to work. Now if I put ls, I should see this file. So this is one way of copying it. Now if I don't want to mention this, because your home folder would not, home directory will not be learn-gcp 2022. So if you don't want to hard code this, right, the best way to copy is basically something like this: sudo, sorry, let me use sudo, copy tilde. If I use tilde, basically it is my home directory. So this is a Linux capability. So if you use tilde, then tilde readme. Now that shows automatically. So this is not hard coding, right? So if I share this command, it's going to work even in your Cloud Shell. So dot, if I do it, the file is copied. If you feel it was not really copied, you can just remove it and do it. Sudo remove, done. There's no file. I'm in currently in this directory. If I run this command, the file is copied from my root directory to from my home directory to my /opt. Now this file, let it be there here only. Okay. This is in /opt/batch6. Now if I want to go back to my home directory, I'm going to use cd tilde. Now if I put this thing, it's going to show me this home directory where there is also one more file, readme cloud shell. Now what I will do is I will shut down this virtual machine. This virtual machine which you get is a ephemeral virtual machine. It's a short-lived virtual machine. If you just leave the screen like this, have your lunch or breakfast and come back, usually everybody will have at least 15-20 minutes break time. If you have that and come back, the session would have been timed out, and when you again reconnect back, all your data would be lost. Whatever you have done something in slash apart from /home would be lost, because only /home is having a persistent disk. This partition is only having 5 GB of persistent disk, meaning whatever I keep it in /home will persist. These all files will persist. If I keep something in /opt batch6, this file will not persist because there's going to be a new virtual machine is going to be attached, but only my persistent disk is going to be attached to that virtual machine. So Cloud Shell is ephemeral. Uh, I had already used it, Kumar. So I had created these files for the demonstration to keep it. So it was not there. For you people, it's going to be only README Cloud Shell. These are all which we are going to use in the class. So I keep it handy. 5 GB free, right? So I thought let me keep some configurations for me to keep it here. That was the only reason. So these are something which I have created it. Now let me restart it. So I can click restart it. When I restart it, the expectation is to make it very clear. Whatever you keep here, maybe why don't I create a folder, file, vi, or I can use one more command, touch, to create a file, batch6 dot, batch6 dot text file. Now, if I want to edit it, edit batch6, batch6 day 2. This is there. That's it. Now close it. I should see those files there. Now let me restart it just to show you that ephemeral nature of it. Or maybe I can show you, yeah, let me just show you this part. To show before that, I will just show you. Um, Let me try to install this one, folks. Sudo apt install nginx. It's basically a web server, more like your Apache web server or IIS. So I'm going to install that in my Cloud Shell because it's a Debian operating system. I can install it. So when I do it, let me see what is going to happen. Okay, this is okay. This is not working. 1 minute, folks. Instead of nginx, let me install Apache 2. Mm, I was expecting a warning message. No worries. Let me just try to show you. So ignore this part of the demo, folks. Uh, if I do sudo apt update, hmm, did they change this capability? It is. Usually it shows a warning. So if I do some changes or install something, maybe let me try doing this. Uh, mm, what can I show which is not there here? I wanted to show you that part. Maybe once time comes when specific component we are installing, I can show. It's going to show me that warning message. whatever you are going to install is on a ephemeral virtual machine. System-wide changes are not going to be applicable is what it's going to show. It used to show that warning message. Now maybe they have suppressed it. Now if I see, I have Apache 2 running, if I am not wrong, which Apache, if I see, it is showing me /user/sbin Apache 2, meaning Apache 2 is installed in this location, which is in /user bin. Now let me restart this virtual machine. Why I'm restarting? Because I cannot wait for it to time out till 20 minutes. I cannot wait for 20 minutes. So I'm just going to restart it just to show whether if I restart it, all my changes are going to be retained or not. It's not going to be retained basically. Whatever you keep it in /home would be retained. But any other directories, it's not going to be retained. So just wanted to make it very clear. So I am restarting it and let's see it. And you may ask why we are going so deep in this, Mahesh, because you may get some questions on this. Done. Now let me run the same command which last time worked. Let me see. Where is that command, folks? It is not even showing that change that you installed Apache 2, which was in /user/sbin/Apache 2. It's not there. If I put ls, if I put pwd, I'm in my home directory. I see batch 6 content. What was the thing which I mentioned? Batch 6 day 2. It is there. If I go to my /opt, put ls, where is our batch 6 folder? It is not there. So the key message is, if you want to retain certain softwares, any files or anything, where should you keep? It should be always, uh, it should be always in your home directory, because the home directory is the only thing which is going to have a 5 GB of persistent disk where you can persist your information basically. Okay, so there's one question from Ankit. So if I click on restart, uh, restarting takes couple of things. The data in your home directory will persist, but all running lost would be, yes, you are absolutely correct. Thanks for highlighting that, Ankit. So this is very clearly mentioned. What is there in your home directory will only persist, but all other running process will be lost, making it very, very clear. So this is going to be very important. You may get questions on this also. Okay, so just remember it. So that was something on Cloud Shell itself. And when you have Cloud Shell, it's going to already have lots of softwares installed. There's one specific software which is going to also be there. This is basically to interact with GCP resources, so called as G Cloud. G for Google, Google Cloud. So this component is also going to be installed by default in your Cloud Shell. So it can install lots of other components. Why can't it have by default a Google components? It's going to be also installed. So this is what you have. The latest version as of today is uh, Cloud SDK. This is basically a software development kit using which you can run various stuffs. Then you get various utilities, all those things. The latest version is 324. You don't need to remember this number. They're not going to ask you this in the exam, but just out of curiosity, I'm just saying this is the latest version. Now, if you have this command, it has lots of components. Now, let's use this Cloud SDK because it is already installed in my Cloud Shell and it is already authenticated also. It is showing G Cloud Authorless. It is showing my email ID, it is showing my project ID, everything is there. It's already auto authenticated, I would say, basically, because I launched from my Cloud Shell, from my Cloud Console. So it should be all good. Now let's go ahead and create a bucket, folks. So for that, I'm going to GCP the bucket. So I can either go to the navigation menu and do it, or I can just click on this resource itself. It's going to directly take to my storage bucket. There's already one bucket which we created. We wanted to create one more bucket, but using command line. And all these commands which we are going to run in the next few minutes are already captured in the cheat sheet. You can go and look into the cheat sheet. So the command which we are going to run now is going to be something like this one, gsutil. You can change the batch name if you want, the folder name, the bucket name if you want, because it's going to be already consumed by somebody. Just change it. gsutil is basically for Google Storage Utility. MB stands for make bucket. Make bucket. So the reason for showing this screen on the top is just to show you when I run something, it's going to reflect the changes in my front end. So how do I do it? I just need to type that command gsutil make bucket. And if it is from AWS, you are going to use S3. This is going to be the protocol. If it's in GCP, you are going to use a protocol called as GS, Google Cloud Storage. GS util, and give a name which you want to give. So I'm a bit lazy to give a name, so I can give my project ID itself if you want. Now, if I want to get my project ID, I can go to my home screen, copy the project ID and do it. Or if you remember it, you can directly type it. Or the best way is you can use a environment variable called as dev shell underscore project ID. So when I do this echo, it's going to show, it's going to have my project ID there. Now, if I use this command, right, I'm not hard coding anything. gs colon slash slash dev shell underscore project ID hyphen cloud shell, just to indicate that I'm creating it from cloud shell. That's it. Hit enter. It's going to create me a bucket. Done. Bucket is created. You don't worry, you are not clear whether it is created or not. Simple. Just minimize this, go and refresh it. You should see a new entry. Cloud shell just now created. My time is in a different time zone, so ignore this. It's like 2 hours ahead, two and a half hours ahead. It's in Singapore time zone. So bucket is created. So we learned a command line. Maybe we want to change our cheat sheet. Let's update it so that it's going to be something good to remember. So instead of hard coding it, dev shell, I'll update my cheat sheet. Dev shell underscore project ID. And this is an environment variable available only in Cloud Shell, folks. Uh, Cloud Shell. Now, if I just share this command with you, it's going to 100% work in your shell also, because it's going to dynamically take your project ID. No hard coding, basically. No hard coding. Now the bucket is created. Now, if you are in the browser, you can see, or in the UI, you can see all the buckets. You can list all the buckets. If you ask me, how can I list all the buckets in my project easily? This is where your Linux commands is going to come into picture. So what is going to be the command in Linux to list all the objects in a directory or a folder, folks? What is the command which you are going to use to list everything? Anybody? ls. The same command is what you are going to use it here also. That's it. If you put gsutil ls, it's going to list you all the buckets. Simple, right? So if you're new, you're learning something new. If you're already from a Linux background, it's just a small additional command which you're learning. gsutil ls. That's it. We got it. So now the bucket is created. We listed it. What else is left? Can we copy a file to that bucket? Let's just do that. So I'm going to copy this file, folks, readme.txt file. So gsutil cp for copy. Copy is always going to have a source and a destination. The source is my local machines readme text file, and the destination is my bucket. That's it. You just double click on it, it's going to be copied, folks. Just hit it. it's going to be copied. The file is copied. You want to know whether really the file is copied or not. Now, what you can do is, instead of just putting gsutil ls, where it's going to list all the buckets, instead of that, you can put gsutil ls, the bucket name. Now, if you put it like that, it's going to show you what is there inside the bucket. It's going to list all the objects in the bucket. So still you don't believe that the file was copied, no problem. Just go to your console, click on it, and you should be able to see the readme file, readme-cloudshell.txt file. So what we did in the command UI, we did the same thing in command line also. So a small exploration, and we also explored how a bucket gets created, all those details, and some Linux commands also we explored. Any questions, doubts on this, folks? Basically, it was more of Linux commands, nothing else. Is there a way to copy a file from a local file system to a bucket? Awesome. So you want to copy it directly from your local machine to a bucket or via Cloud Shell, Shanti? What is your question? What should be the route you want to do? You want to directly copy means I can just click on this bucket. I have an upload option. So I have an upload option from directly from my this thing means I have an upload option. Just click on this upload. It's going to show you your desktop only. This is my desktop. So I'm just going to upload this. You can do it basically. That's it. So it's going to show you that directly. This is one way of doing it. So directly from your desktop. If it's via Linux, then via your Cloud Shell, you have to do a two-step process. So first, upload it. Click on this three dots, vertical dots. Upload a file from your Windows machine or whatever it is, something like Fire. Let me just upload fire.jpg to my Cloud Shell. So now the file is in my Cloud Shell. How do I verify it? ls fire.jpg is there. Now, if you want to copy it, use the same command from my Cloud Shell. If I want to copy it, I can do like this. Now, if you say it's a two-step process, Mahesh, the answer is going to be answered. You are going to get a better answer in the next demo. So this is another option. So you upload it from your local machine to Cloud Shell. From the Cloud Shell, you do a gsutil copy. This is one more option. So that's it. This is the option. Why it is hanging? Okay. If I do ls, I should see my file. Fire.jpg is also copied. So that's another option, Shanti. I'll show you one more option in next few minutes. There's one question from okay, yes, Kumar, I'm going to answer. Is there any document which can explain all the Linux commands with some explanation? So that is where I have already uploaded the cheat sheet here. So this is one set of cheat sheet which can help you, where it's going to explain you all the stuff. This is one thing. The other one, you also have an official documentation which I have uploaded it here. If you go to the common folder, cheat sheets, I have mentioned G-Cloud official thing. So you just click on this, you are going to get the details of those commands, but you may not have a complete explanation. It's going to be one-liner or two-liner kind of an explanation. So 2-page document, you can refer to it, Kumar. There's one more question. Let me just answer it. Good to know that this is coming more. So Shripal is asking, if it is more than 5 GB, you cannot do it. You cannot upload it because it is already free and we cannot expect anything more than this. So 5 GB is what you are going to get it by default. You cannot extend it more. And when you are uploading something from your local machine to Cloud Shell, maximum is 5 GB. And you will not get fully 5 GB because you have already utilized something. So in my case, it's going to be like 3.75 or something like that. So if it's more than 5, it's not going to allow you to upload itself, Shripal. Uh, There's one more question from Vijay. How to copy multiple folders from local machine to bucket? Multiple folders, you have to do something called as CPRF or R, recursively copy. So from your run this gsutil cp minus R, source and the destination is your bucket. So recursively you're going to copy multiple folders, Vijay. So using that command, we will explore that when time comes, but minus R is the command which will help you out there. So there's one more question. Is there any task or action or task that cannot be done via a GUI console that we need to use only Cloud Shell? I can say n number of stuffs which you cannot do it in GCP console, where you have to rely on Cloud Shell or Cloud command line, Mohammed. You will see that n number of stuffs. I would say many stuffs are there. Slowly you will understand it, but there are many. There are many tasks which you cannot do it in UI. You have to rely on command line only. There's one question from Mangesh: how copy paste works in Cloud Shell? Okay, so how copy paste works in Cloud Shell? Just use your mouse, just click on this text. That's it. It is copied, and you just do a Control V. That's it. To paste it, you just double click it on it. It's going to copy it basically. Uh, that's one option in Cloud Shell. At least in browser base, it's going to work like that, and you can use Control Insert. Uh, okay, if it's not working, means just use this option. Double click it. It's going to get copied basically. Good. Good to know that good amount of questions came in. Fine. We created something with Cloud Shell. It worked all good. Now let's try to create. We created a bucket. All those things. Now let's create a virtual machine. Now for this virtual machine, the command is going to be slightly different. Uh, it is going to be called as gcloud, and in the beginning, it will look like Greek and Latin. So it's going to look like Greek and Latin. So slowly over the time, you will definitely get used to it. One advantage of Cloud Shell is it can help you with auto suggestion basically. So you don't need to do any settings extra. If you want actually settings, terminal, preference, copy setting. Okay, this is going to be by default copy on select. Thanks, Sripal. So, or if you want a normal this thing, you can also use it. So if you want to turn that on, but keeping it on select is going to be a easy option basically. Thanks for sharing it, Sripal. Coming back to the virtual machines creation. So if it's storage bucket, cloud storage bucket, you have to use gsutil. If it is virtual machine, you have to use a command called as gcloud, and most of the commands are going to be covered under gcloud itself. So gcloud is what we are going to use. Now gcloud compute and hit a tab, it's going to auto complete. This is one way. And if you say, Mahesh, this is going to become a little difficult for us, what you can do, there's one option called as which is still in beta, gcloud beta interactions. Interactive. If I do it, it's going to be more in an interactive mode where you can start typing something. It's going to show you the tips. G. It's going to show you that auto suggestion, more like your Visual Studio. So if you feel this is going to be helpful, use this command, folks. Gcloud compute. I want to create a compute engine instances. I want to create an instance. Then name of the instance is what you need to create. I want to create an instance, then give a name, VM1, VM1, and provision it. So this could be another option which you can try. If you want to know the command, let me just go back, exit. And this is in beta, folks, so you may not, so this is the command. If you want, you can use it for your learning purpose. So I'm just going to mention this in our cheat sheet so that you can get an updated one if you want. This is in beta. Usually I don't mention beta commands, but if you feel the commands are little difficult to remember in the beginning, you can use this option. Now you can use that and provision it. Sometimes, right, some command, and we have not still provisioned the virtual machine, folks. Sometimes you may have to type the command. It's going to come to the next line also. Soon it's going to happen. We are going to write some long commands and all. So it's going to come to definitely a next line. So if you feel the command is going to come to the next line, something like this, gcloud uh, compute. I use tab, it gets auto completed. Compute instances create, and if I slightly zoom this for a better view, uh, learn GCP VM. Now you see it already came to the next line. It came to the next line. So some people don't like this actually. So it's going to be a little difficult to track. So a small tip for this, nothing from the exam perspective, nothing from your real implementation, but to make your life simple when you are doing something in Linux. So what you can do is you can use this command ps1 dollar. So when I do this, what's going to happen is I'm going to get a complete real estate to type a very long command. So this could be a small tip. I'm going to use this very effectively. If you want, you can use it, or you want to keep this prompt uh, taking half of your real estate. It's your choice. So I use this. So just wanted to give that explanation why I use that. So now let me just use my command gcloud compute compu, hit a tab. It's going to auto complete. Instance s create. Just type C and hit a tab. It's going to auto complete. Okay, so and this auto completion only works in Cloud Shell. If you want that interactive, you have to use gcloud beta, but that command is in beta. So 2 years back it was in alpha. Now only it has come to beta. So it's going to take time for it to become generally available command. So give a name VM1. So if I hit this, it should get created basically. So let me hit enter. Now, when I do this, it's going to ask me some question. What is this question trying to convey, folks? What is this asking us actually? Which was not asked when we were doing our cloud bucket creation. But why for VM it is showing? Any reason? It is asking basically a zone where you want to create a virtual machine, because for a virtual machine the zone is very very important. It is asking, please let me know what is the zone. Are you preferring to create it in Singapore A? So if you give yes, it's going to work. If you say no, it's going to show you all 73 zones. 73 zones, all the 73 zones are going to be shown basically. So type list. Okay, enter list to get the full lot. If I do it, 73 zones are going to be shown. So I don't want to enter any choice. I'll just go back to this command. I don't want to mention the prompt like this. So what I do is usually I mention a zone information like this. Zone, what is the zone you want? You just mention it if you remember it. If you don't remember it, you can go to the console, get the copy of the various zones, or there's also a command in the command available in the command line itself, but I don't want to make it a overkill right now itself. So you can just mention this zone explicitly while provisioning. This is one way of doing it. It's going to create a VM. Now I told it's going to take less than 30 seconds, right? Now it's time to prove that it is less than 30 seconds. What I do usually is wherever I am creating any resources and time in the command line, right? I can easily put a utility called as time in front of it. If I put it, it's going to show how long this time process, this command took to execute is what it's going to show. So let me hit enter. I'm going to create a VM called as VM1 in Singapore A zone. and we are going to see the time. This is the real time. So meaning if you had a clock timer in your hand and you had turned on the start button when I clicked on hit enter and stopped when it got finished, that is what you're going to get it. It's a real clock. And there is some in system level user that is not of our importance. For now, the clock is, this is the real wall clock time which you wanted to know. 9 seconds, folks. In 9 seconds, I have my virtual machine running. No other cloud provider can do this. People with AWS and Azure background can comment, can you do this? And in 9 seconds, I have it and also can log into that virtual machine if I want. So I don't need to create a private key, public key, all those things. The experience is really faster here. And one of the reasons why the resource provisioning is faster is, I can give two reasons. One is global network. The second reason is Google manufactures their own hardware. The infrastructure is provisioned from them only. So they only purchase the processor from AMD and from Intel, but the entire hardware manufacturing, the other infrastructure component, they are going to use it. They are going to create it. They are one of the largest hardware manufacturers, but they manufacture it for themselves. They don't share it outside. Like Hewlett Packard Enterprise, they manufacture your hardware and they give it. If you give money, they are going to give you a hardware. But Google is for their own consumption. So 9 seconds, if somebody challenges you, just use this command time, put time in front of it and show in 9 seconds, or I take a little calculated step. I don't say 10 seconds, but I say 30 seconds. 30 seconds, you should have it basically. So that's the option. Now, if you want to list all your VMs, the command is going to be slightly different. So gcloud. Now I can show you that interactive stuff maybe if you are comfortable with that, or I can just use this command gcloud compute instances list. If I do this, it's going to show me the list of VMs which has been created in my project. It's going to show me that. It's taking time, not sure why. Let me just wait for it to show up. It should not take this long. Okay, it shows one VM. Now, some of you may have a doubt why we are creating only one instance, why we are mentioning instances. Actually, this command has a capability of creating multiple instances in one shot. So if I use this command, if I just mention something like VM2, VM3, VM4, I can create 3 VMs in one command itself. That's the beauty of this command. That's where that plural is coming into picture. Now you have 3 VMs created, getting created in less than 30 seconds again. So let's wait and watch whether it's going to be created. Yes. So 11 seconds, 4 VMs are there totally. 3 was created in this command and 1 was already created in the past. So now if you just put this, you're going to get 4 VMs as listed. So just wanted to show you how easy it is to create stuffs with your command, and it's going to be much faster. So number of clicks, all those things basically are less here. Any kind of automation, you want to write a small batch script, you're going to use basically your Linux commands. So there's one big question. Was that a big question? Okay, you mentioned it is working. Fine. So that's it. Now, why don't we delete it from the command line itself? Because these are expensive resources. So now you should be in a good idea. What should be the command? To create it, we use create. To list it, we use list command. To delete it, definitely it's going to be delete. That's it. So if I click on delete, I can mention VM1, VM2, VM3, VM4. If I do it, it's again going to ask me what is the zone. This is going to be little irritating to always mention zone. Now, if I am a customer, my presence is only, if I'm going to do some implementation for a customer and the customer's presence is only in Singapore, I don't want to mention it n number of times. So what I do is I set it as my preference. Whatever I do in this project should be always in Singapore. So what I do is, this is saving me some time basically. I don't want, I can do this command. I can just mention zone equal to Singapore. I don't want to do that. Bit lazy. That's it. So how do I do that? Set up my default zone as using this command, which is there in my cheat sheet. Um, is there? Not there? Mm, okay, it is not there. We'll just create it. Gcloud compute. Uh, sorry, Gcloud config. If I'm not wrong, Gcloud config set compute zone. By this, I'm going to set my zone as Singapore, Southeast A. Zone updated. Now, if I go back to this command, now I don't have mentioned the zone, but if I just hit it, it's going to, okay, multiple is going to ask it again. Okay, zone, it is going to, okay, it's just asking you want to delete it or not. No, but it is not asking for my zone, folks. The zone, it is assuming it is all in Singapore A. It is just asking whether you want to continue running it, deleting it or not. So it is asking for a confirmation. If you even don't like this, you don't want anything prompted, use -q, quietly delete it. Now it's not going to prompt me anything. Quietly it's going to delete and it's going to come out of this prompt. So some of your Linux commands is going to be really helpful. So usually -q is for quiet uh, kind of a command. So we deleted it. We understood how we can provision resource using command line also. Now let's take a scenario. Uh, so what we have explored is storage and VM creation using Cloud Shell, which is a Linux based, a browser based Linux system, which is provided free of cost. And we saw some good capabilities of that. The next part is using Cloud SDK. What is this Cloud SDK? Will actually Cloud Shell had Cloud SDK already installed. The G Cloud command, the GSUtil, all are those Cloud SDK for you. Now let's take a scenario. Um, let's take a scenario. Uh, you need to stop some virtual machine. Okay, so you want to stop this virtual machine because it's incurring cost, or even delete it itself, whatever it is, what the customer says. Uh, a mail comes, no DevOps person is there, no operation person is there, but on that fine day, only you are there in the office. You are a cloud architect, but they are asking a small request. Can you just shut it down? We know it is going to be done by an operation person, but nobody is there today. If you can take just this part, just go and stop it. It's going to be good. So because you have built a trusted relationship with the customer, so you cannot say no. So you'll go and do it. Now, unfortunately, on that day, console assume the worst thing. Everything goes against us. Something happens, right? Sometimes it has happened to everybody, I would say. So you go to console.cloud.google.com. It's going to throw an error. The service is down. There's some outage. Google Cloud has some outage. Basically, the console is having outage. You may say, can it have? Yes, it can have. So if I just go to my home screen, if I go to my home screen, go to the status, one of the components which is verified or which is monitored is web console. Where do I see it? I don't see it, but let me search it. Yeah, Google Cloud Console. Google Cloud Console. So it can also have downtime. So if I just go to my history, I'll search for console. Okay, so On 12th of November 2020, there was an outage or some issue with the console, is what it indicates. Now assume it was that day where you did not, where you cannot access to GCP console. Now, if you cannot access to GCP console, how will you stop the virtual machine, folks? Console is not opening. If console is not opening, your Cloud Shell is also not going to open. True, because only if the browser, this entire UI comes, you can launch it, because this is browser based. Now your plan A failed, which is directly going to console. Your plan B failed because your Cloud Shell cannot, your console does not open, your Cloud Shell also cannot open. Now what can you say? Can you say the customer that Google is having some issue, I will stop it later? You can say that, but uh, what do you want to do something better? It's not that you are fully blocked. There is still an option. So uh, you can write a code. Yes, you can write a code and do it. That's going to be an awesome way, which I would say. But if you are a cloud architect, a true cloud architect with zero coding knowledge, you cannot do it. So the plan C, I would say, is have it from your laptop. If you have a laptop where you can install a SDK, cloud SDK on your laptop, Windows, Linux, Mac, whatever it is, then from your laptop is not going down. So you can just launch the same command, just use the same command, gcloud compute instance delete. You can just go do that. So that's going to be your plan C. So if I just go here where they mentioned, maybe I'm going to take this one, September, look into the details. So where they mention the details here, uh, you have to always, whenever you read anything, right, whenever you're reading any issues, you have to start reading from it from the bottom. That's a small information. So we are experiencing issue with Cloud Shell in Singapore beginning so and so time. Symptoms: error, Cloud Shell is temporarily not available. Now if UI is working, good. If UI is not working, Cloud Shell is not working, they also provide you some option. Diagnose Cloud Shell is temporarily unavailable for some reasons. Sometimes Cloud Shell will also have issues. So the workaround is you can use command line on your local machine. These are Google site reliability engineers who provide this information. So Google officially is providing, we are having some issue on this date. uh, to We are working on the issue. The workaround is do it from your laptop. So for this you need to have Cloud SDK installed on it. So this is a real scenario which happened to me also, where I had to stop the resource. On that day when I went, the console was not working. Since the console was not working, even Cloud Shell was not able to open. But luckily I had installed Cloud SDK on my laptop. So how do I install Cloud SDK? So just the link, it's already there in the cheat sheet if you want. If you, and you don't need to be an administrator, folks. You don't need to be an administrator. But only if your organization, if you're doing this on your corporate laptop and if your organization does not allow installing any third party softwares, please don't do it. But you don't need to have an administrative rights. And I have installed this in a service based organization when I was working, and it worked. And that service based organization was having strict policies, but because this was from Google, I was able to install it without even raising a support ticket to my IT. So I was able to install it myself. So as of today, the latest version is 2324. 324 is a version, which is what we saw in our Cloud Shell also. You just click on what is your OS. Based on that, you download it, and it's going to be the most simplest demo installation. Next, 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 next. You're all done. So I have already installed this on my laptop. So I'm not going to install it one more time. And if I open up my command prompt, I already opened it for a quick one. I can just do gcloud versions. If I just do this, it's going to show me the latest version because I have updated it. It's going to show me the stuffs. Uh, One quick observation: when you do the same command in Cloud Shell, it used to had a good amount of content. So let me just show you that quickly. So G Cloud versions version, you see lots of components are there. But when I do it on my laptop, it has only limited, because if you install, if you by default, it's not going to have all the stuff. So you can install it if you want. So lightweight is what is going to be installed. What we need is only Cloud SDK, which is going to be your G Cloud related commands, gsutil commands. That's it. Now, this can be your plan C. So when you join an organization, or the current organization itself as a cloud architect, you get promoted as cloud architect. The first and the foremost stuff which you should do is, definitely they'll give you access to GCP. There's no problem, but you need to be prepared for your plan C. Plan C is this, or if you are joining a new organization as cloud architect, plan C is, the moment you get the laptop, the new laptop, after all your onboarding process is done, install is install Cloud SDK. Right, do this right away. Install Cloud SDK. Install Cloud SDK on your corporate laptop. Uh, Based on what is the laptop which you get, install it right away, and also please run this command, gcloud initialize. Why you need to initialize? If it was Cloud Shell, right, because it was launched from your console only, the authentication was already inbuilt, auto authentication was happening. But if it's your laptop, how will the laptop, when you run any command, gcloud command, how will it know I have to go to the specific account, I have to use the specific project? So for that, you have to do this initialization. So let me run that initialization process. So before running that initialization process, you can come to know what is your current configuration by just typing gcloud config list. It is going to show you the list of configuration which is already there. It's going to show, okay, it's showing my email ID. It's a different email ID, and it's showing a different project. Maybe I have set it. That's what it looks like. For the demonstration, I'm going to remove it, folks. I'm just going to remove it so that we will do it right from the beginning. So this is where it's going to usually keep the cache, all those profile information. It's going to be kept, if it's at least in Windows, it's going to be your profile, app, data, roaming, gcloud. That's where it's going to keep it. Now let me run it one more time. Let me just, yeah, nothing is there. So I don't have any authentication or what project, all those details are totally removed. Now how do I do it? Gcloud auth, sorry, gcloud initialization. So if we have a folder in the organization, create a VM with shared VPC, how do we specify the service project and host project? Okay, thing is that totally out of topic question, Anil. I'll just keep this towards 10 o'clock where I'm going to answer this, because it is a networking question which you're asking, where we are going to talk about shared VPC. So we'll talk about that towards the end, so that we'll not dilute or divert from this session. Okay. So gcloud initialize. When I do this, it's going to pop up a browser basically. So it's going to detect and it's going to pop up a browser. So would you like to log in? Yes, is what it's going to say. Now, yeah, if you don't have a browser or anything of that sort, right, you can also use a different command. So if you give S, it's going to click and it's going to open up a browser. So where you need to authenticate and do the stuffs. So let me just do this. It opens up in my browser, which is Chrome browser. I'm a bit lazy again to log in all those things. So what I will do is I'll come to my incognito window, copy the same URL, hit enter. where I can just mention my ID. So sign in, that's it. Now what I'm giving is I'm allowing my laptop's Cloud SDK to have access. It is basically like you are having an app and you are allowing the app to read your data for context, all those things, right? The same thing. So this allows Cloud SDK to manage your data across Google Cloud Platform services, all those things. You want to allow it? Yes. Once you allow it, my laptop Cloud SDK now can access my Cloud GCP's project. Now you are now authenticated with your Google SDK. That's it. Now if I go back, it's logged in. You have logged in as this user. This is what has happened behind the scene when I allowed it, and it is showing these are the projects available. Which project you want to select? So just look at the number in front of it, use it. So 2 is a number which we wanted to use because that's our batch 6. That's it. Now your current project has been set to this one. All good. You want to set a default zone and this thing. If you want, you can go and do it. So okay, if you how long the Cloud SDK takes? It should take very quickly if you are using if you are using a VPN from your organization. Hope it's not from your organization. If you're using a organization based laptop, they will have lots of restrictions. It has to go through their VPN, blah blah blah. It's going to take, but if it's your own laptop, it's not going to take longer time. It's not going to take longer time. Check out the stuffs. So if you have multiple projects for multiple this thing, how do you set it is what is your question? No problem, we can just do this very easily. So now if I do gcloud config list, how do I set it is the question. Let me just show you. So this is currently the project. The whole reason why we set the project is we don't want to mention the project information every time. That is the only thing, folks. Now if you want to change it to some other project, right, what you can do is gcloud projects list. Let me get the list of projects first of all to which I have access to. So these are the projects which I have access. Now I can change it to this project by using gcloud config set project. That's it. The project will be set to this. Now whatever I do, it's going to be the GCP PC, GCP learn-gcp-pc pde-dev. Now if I run this command, sorry. If I run this list, it's going to show a different project. It's going to show a different project altogether. Sorry, what was the command? List, config list. It's not going to show. It is connected to our project. It is connected to some other project, but in the same account. The account is same because I have 3 projects in my account. So it's showing this thing. Now, if I do gcloud compute instances create VM2 from Cloud SDK. If I hit enter now, right, what will happen is by default, it's going to create the VM in this project because you have set it as your default project. Now, if you want to override it, no problem. You can just mention -- project and your project ID. This way, I would have set it to some project, but I want to create it in some other project. I just use this flag -- project, and it's going to be created. Let me just create it. Zone is important. Let me mention the zone Asia Southeast 1B. So it's going to create it in my this thing. So even though the project which I have set is different project. Hope that answers your question, Vijay and Kumar. You had the both had the same question. So you can just mention this flag. That's it. And if you don't want to set this flag every time, you do this command which is basically set project, gcloud config set project, which is there in the cheat sheet already. All right. Uh, that flag is going to be an easy option. I don't want to hard code anytime. I may work on multiple projects. I just use this flag every time. That's it. So we created a virtual machine from our command line, folks. That too from our cloud shell. Sorry, from our not from cloud shell, from our laptop where we have installed our cloud SDK. Now, if I were to stop this, simple. So you can stop it from here itself. You don't need to log into your to your console, do all those things. I can do everything from here. So instead of create, I'm going to mention it as stop. That's it. So let me do this one. First of all, just to show you the list, what is running, compute instances list, just to show you whether it is running. I'll come to how to set the another account, Vijay. So after this demo, I'll show you that part. Let me just show you the list. By the time this comes up, for some reason, folks, I don't know the real reason. You may have the super laptop, high-end laptop with you, but when you run the gcloud command, it's always going to be super slow. I don't know the reason why. It's going to be always super slow. But the same command, if you run it in cloud shell, it's going to be super fast. I don't know the reason there. So look into it, why it is not coming. Now it's not showing any list, folks. Did we really create a project, sorry, virtual machine? Let me just verify it, or we did any mistake. So if I just go to my batch 6, so let me just check whether our VM was created first of all. Console is going to be like our reference to see whether things are really created or not. So I usually use console to check whether the VM is created. It is showing in my batch 6, but when I do something here, it is not showing up. Any reason why, folks? Anything which we have made wrong here? Then I'll come and answer Vijay and Kumar's question. It's not showing me the results. First time when I ran, it showed 0. Maybe it could be because of cache. Let me try it running one more time. It's getting executed. Um, set awesome. Set batch 6 as a current active project. Then you will get it, is what Smith is saying. You are absolutely correct. Basically, because I am running gcloud config list, if I don't mention my project, it's going to think you want to get the details of the VMs in this project ID. So if I go and look into it, it's basically empty. Now I can either change it by doing gcloud config set project and change it and do it. This is one way. The second way is I don't want to change it. What I will do is I'll just put this flag, folks, hyphen batch 6. Now it should show me the stuff. That's it. So I can pass this variable and I should be able to, it's a basically a specifier. I should be able to get it. Let me just wait. It should show me the results. There are good amount of questions. I would say, okay, now it is showing up. Now I just mentioned the specifier. It is showing me the stuff there. Now, if you want to see it is currently running, let's take the same scenario where somebody asks us to stop it. What we'll do is basically use the same command, but instead of create, mention it as stop. So let me just stop it. Stop it and do it. The VM is getting stopped. Want to verify it? Just go refresh the screen. You see the VM is spinning down, stopping. Okay. Now there are some good amount of questions. Let me answer it. Or you want to take a break and then once you come back from the break, we'll answer it, or you want to get it answered now, folks. Your call. I'm okay with anything. So you want a break? Yeah, let's go for a break. Then after a break, anyway, it's going to be a good time to talk about the various questions. N number of interesting questions are there. So we can discuss it. But before we take a break, let me see whether the VM gets stopped. It is stopped. If I go to my command line, it is also stopped. So if you want to see the status, list all the stuffs, it should show as terminated, something like that is what it should show basically. We'll just see this and stop for the break. For some reason it's very slow. I don't know why. If somebody can get it very fast, let me know. But this is a known issue is what I have seen. So plan C, so it shows as terminated. Basically it is in a stop state. If you want to delete it, you can delete it also. When you stop the VM, only your storage is going to be cost. Your vCPU and memory will not be charged, basically. All right, let's stop for a break, a 10 minutes break. Once we come back, there are good amount of outstanding questions. We'll answer it and then we'll move to the next part, folks. So take a 10 minutes break. Let me stop the recording.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, the first question which was not answered was from Vijay. How to set another. Okay, somebody has a question. Okay, fine. So the first question is from Vijay. How to set to another account the okay, folks, if you don't have a question, let me mute it because it's going to be a background noise there. So the first question is how do I set it to another account? Basically what Vijay is asking is uh, if I do this gcloud gcloud config list, when I do this, it's going to show an account to which it has been set. Now, if I want to use something else, how do I do it? It's going to be simple gcloud config set account. You want a different email ID to use. You can set this. It's going to be, if you want to do like this. Okay, sorry, I guess not like this, my bad. So you can use something like gcloud auth login. You can just do this to do a login with some other account. Let me just log it with some other account and show you. So using this option, you should be able to do it. Now it's going to basically, so if I just go to my console, there's my console. The same URL. Maybe if you don't want the URL, right, I'll show you one more style actually. You have to do this. Okay, URL. Let me just do it with URL only. I have one more email ID. I'll just log in with that. So 22 is what we are using. 28 I'll use. Login. I have to just do the same thing. Okay, it was killed, I guess. Okay, that's the reason. Okay, 1 minute, folks. Sorry, my bad. So let me just do it one more time. I can, no browser, I can use this option also, no browser, where it's not going to pop up any browser. It's going to show me the URL. I can just copy it and First authenticate. Did you launch no browser? Okay, launch. Did you mean launch no browser? Okay, I don't remember this thing. I can use this man page basically, manual. So when I do this, it's going to show me the options what I can pass basically there. Then we can do it. So options are launch browser, uh, no launch browser. So assume you are in a terminal and you cannot do that. So I can just use this. Now it's going to just show me a link. I just need to copy this, open it in any browser. It's going to give me a token, verification token, which have code. So just copy this. This is the second way. So paste it in the browser. What is the account you want to log in as? 2028 is what I wanted to log in as. It's going to give me a verification code. I have to paste it. Then it's going to show that yes, I'm authenticated. This is my code. Copy it, go, put it. Now I have verified it. So now you are logged in as this user. You can go back and see what is going to show. Gcloud config list. Now, since you have already authenticated as two users, right, you can switch between the two accounts whenever you want to switch the accounts. You can easily switch it. So to switch that account, you can use gcloud or config set account. Now you don't want 2028, you want 2022. Mention this. Account is updated. Now if I do it again, it's going to show both the accounts we have verified, like we have been authenticated. So I'm just switching the account whenever I want. Hope that answers your question for Vijay. So it's going to be two-step process. First, you have to authenticate yourself, gcloud auth login. Then you can use gcloud config set account. So that's the first question. The second question is from Kumar. Can we see the zones also while creating or deleting through SDK? Thing is that Kumar, what we did in Cloud Shell, you can do everything in Cloud SDK also. What commands you use, gcloud command, is going to work here also. There's no issue. So you can type gcloud compute zones list. If I type, all the 73 zones are going to show me here. So the complete stuff is going to show there. So let's just wait for it to show up. You see that 73 comes. So please don't confuse yourself. In both Cloud Shell or in your laptop, you need to have Cloud SDK running. Only if Cloud SDK is running, you can use your gcloud command. So please make it very, very clear. So this gcloud command is basically installed via Cloud SDK. Even in your shell also it is installed by default. Here we had to install it. That's it. So it is possible to see it. Hope it's clear, Kumar. There's one interesting question from Vivek. Uh, uh, do we need to set firewall to pass through our Cloud SDK to our GCP project? If you are using a laptop like me, not connected to any corporate environment, no need of any firewalls or anything. But if you're going via your corporate connection, you are using a corporate laptop and you have to always connect to the VPN of your organization, then definitely yes, you have to have some firewalls opened or anything. Some organization does keep it open, but some organizations block it. So you have to raise an IT request or something, then only you can communicate. So how communication happens from Cloud SDK to GCP? It's basically your OAuth authentication. You just do gcloud auth login. It showed us the entire process. It was an OAuth authentication. Once it is authenticated, I'm going to see everything there, basically. So that's how it happens, Vivek. Hope it is clear. And all your credentials are stored in your laptop, and it's going to be stored under this location. So all my stuffs is going to be created here. If I just delete this, everything goes off. All right. So now, hope I have answered all the questions. We finished creating something with virtual machine. Why don't we create a bucket quickly using Google Cloud Storage, using gsutil command, and answer one of the questions which Shanti asked. How do I copy it from my local machine directly to Google Cloud Storage using command line? So that is using your gsutil if you have installed your Cloud SDK. So what I'll do is, clear the screen. Just wanted to see what files I have. I have some files here. gsutil. Let me make sure I set my project correctly. Even for gsutil, you can send a parameter called as -p to create a bucket in a specific project. So we have already done that. So if you don't want to specify it, you can use this one, gcloud config set project learn hyphen gcp hyphen pca hyphen batch hyphen 6, so that I don't want to specify it. I have shown you the trick how you can specify it. I don't want to again specify it. For now, let's fix it to batch 6. Clear the screen. gsutil make bucket gs colon slash slash learn gcp hyphen pca hyphen p batch 6 cloud laptop local laptop cloud SDK. This is my bucket. Should take a minute. This is only because I'm doing it from my laptop. I don't know the reason, as I mentioned, why it is so slow if it's done from the laptop. If the same command, if I run it from my cloud shell, it's going to be super fast. Just for your information, my laptop is slightly a decent laptop, which also has GPUs and all. So for some reason it is very slow. I don't really know. Now if I put gsutil ls, I should be able to list all the 3 buckets. 2 buckets were already created. One was using console, the second one using cloud shell, the third one is using the SDK installed on our laptop. So I have it. Now to answer a question which Shanti asked, I have a file or maybe groups of files. How do I copy it to my cloud storage bucket using command line? gsutil cp star, I can do like this. So I can just mention it as star js. That's it. It's going to copy my files there. This is how you can do it if you don't want to have 2 hops, one from shell to storage. And somebody asked, because if you upload something to Cloud Shell, it has to be only less than 5 GB. Shripal, if I'm not wrong. If you have such a limitation, such kind of volume, directly copy it from your local laptop to Cloud Shell directly using the command line. Okay, so hope that is answered questions, or hope that is answered, folks. Now let's come back to our slides. So far we have seen the command line and the web console option. Um, the third option you can interact with GCP is using client library, which Vijay also mentioned. Um, if your console is not working, if your shell is not working, what is the option? Vijay mentioned we can write a small script and run it. So if you programmatically do it, so you can do it definitely using something called as client libraries. So these are supported languages, first class citizens, where you can write code in any of these language. So we will try to be stay away from this code. But as a cloud architect, if say for example, if a customer is asking you a question, we have folks who can write Java code. Can I create a virtual machine programmatically in GCP? The answer should be yes. You should be aware only from that context. And I'm not expecting you to write a code, or even Google is not expecting you, or any enterprise never expects you to write a code as a cloud architect to provision a virtual machine. But you should be aware that these are the 8 languages where it is supported. All the major languages are supported. .NET, uh, .NET is there, Java, .NET, PHP, C++, only C is not there, I would say. Most of the major languages are there. So if you want to create it, you can use this. Let me show you one demo, and let's try to do it quickly because it's going to be code. I don't want to spend more time on the code. I just show you how it's going to be done. If you're interested, you can do it also at a later point of time. So this code is already uploaded in the document, in the module 1. You can download it. So, and I've also mentioned the steps how you should set it up. First, you should install your cloud SDK if it's on your Windows. Then you have to use something called as Node.js, because this is written in JavaScript. You have to have this executable. Then open your command prompt, go to the same folder where this file is there. Then you have to run this command. This is basically to install the client library for Node.js, because I'm going to create a bucket programmatically. So that's what I'm going to do. Then, now this is not my SDK, folks. This is my client library. So I have to again authenticate with my client library using this command, gcloud auth applications default login. If I do this, I'm authenticated. I should be able to then process anything via my code. And the code is around 30 lines of code. I don't want to get into the details, but I'll just give you a hint here. Line number 13 is basically using Google Cloud Storage library, client library. And I'm mentioning I want to create my bucket in batch 6. This is my ID. This is a value where I'm assigning it. I'm going to use this value at a later point of time. And the name of my bucket is something like this: learn-gcp pca node.js client library. That's it. So around 10 lines of code, or 10 to 20 lines of code, I just go and execute it. So I have installed Cloud SDK already. I have already installed Node.js in my laptop. I am not going to install it. And I've also done the step npm install, all those things. If I do this, what's going to happen basically is the necessary modules are going to be downloaded, and it's going to call it as node underscore module basically. So this is more from the software perspective. So let's not worry much about it. Just follow this procedure. You should be able to create the stuff. How do you execute this program is using a command called as node create buckets. Node is the executable. Like Java, you're going to run it as Java. If it's Python, you're going to run Python. Similarly, you need to do this. Before we do this, right, the last step we were supposed to do was this one: authenticate your client library. We have not done it. Let me show what happens if I don't authenticate it, because there's a piece of code running somewhere in someone's laptop. How it can go and create a data bucket in some project? That authentication is required. If I don't do it, what is going to happen? I wanted to show you. Hit enter and let's see what happens. Whenever it takes longer time, I feel something is going wrong. So that's what I have seen, but let's see it. So now it's showing a big error. uh, let's try to see it. Login required. Simple. You are not authenticated via your code. Your SDK is authenticated, but you are writing a piece of code. This code also should have to which project I have to connect. What is the credentials I have to use? All those details are required. Project details are there, but what is the authentication? So if you see this code, I have not mentioned. I want to use my learn.gcp 2022 user ID. I have not mentioned any details. So that authentication is required. For that, you have to use this command. So clear the screen, run this. gcloud auth application default login application, because it's a small app which we have written. So login, it's going to again prompt for the same thing. It's going to open up a browser. I'm going to just cut this, go to my another browser where I can directly click on that user. So 22 is what I wanted. Now it is auth library. It's not SDK. Okay. Now click on allow, and I'll show you a small bug here. Now it's going to show you're authenticated with your Cloud SDK. So this is a bug actually. It should have shown you are now authenticated with your client Google Cloud Client library, but it is showing Cloud SDK. So it's a bug in the system. So we cannot do any changes. But now we are authenticated. My code is authenticated. Now go and you see this. It is authenticated, and also the credentials and all would be stored in this location. If I just go inside this location, I should be able to see this. This is the location, folks. Let me just open this for you. It's in JSON. This is my details, my token, project ID, my all my necessary information uh, is captured here. Now, when I run my code using node create bucket, beautifully it's going to create a bucket and come out of it from the code. That's it. Bucket created. That's the name of the bucket which is created. Programmatically we have done it. Go and verify whether it is created or not. So if I just go to my home screen, this should be our fourth bucket if I'm not wrong. Yes, looks like 4 buckets are already there. And empty bucket will not cost anything. So if you just keep it empty and less than 100 MB or so, the data is not it's not going to incur cost. So this is the one which you just created. So the time in my this thing is 2.5 hours ahead, so it's going to show us 11:47. This is the one which you just created, Node.js client library. It is there. Programmatically we're able to also create it. So that's a cool option, right? Um, you may ask what could be the possible reasons somebody wants to do programmatically. You have a code which needs a temporary bucket to be created. After the program is executed, they want to delete it. So at that time, they cannot open console or gcloud command, all those things. So they want to programmatically do it. So that's where. So, or maybe also an automation requirement. So if you want an automation requirement, you can use that there. So it could be for that purpose also. So sorry, I have to put it in a presentation mode one more time. Let me put it, folks, in a presentation mode. So far what we have explored by the time the screen comes up. So we have explored how to create something using web console. 2 resources we have learned. Similarly in command line, that too in command line, we have learned 2 different options using our laptop using Cloud Shell. Both requires Cloud SDK to use to provision anything or dismantle anything. Then we use client library, basically specific language support, first class citizens, Go, Java, Node.js. We use Node.js, Python, Ruby, PHP, C Sharp, C++. We created a storage. So I wanted to keep it very lightweight. If you want, I can show you a virtual machine creation also at a later point of time. But we will not do this most of the time. So that's the reason I wanted to keep it very lightweight. And the last option, folks. Now assume you are in front of a customer and the customer asks, we have some good amount of engineers who can write code, massive super code, but these are old guys. Basically, they use languages like Perl, C, or something like Lua. If you have these, and if you have not heard of these language, no problem. But these are languages which is used. C, everybody would have seen. It's a mother of all languages. C. Perl is another interesting language. I had used it in my first job. Lua, game lovers, behind the scene, Lua is a language which has been used by most of the gaming organization. So if you were to do something like that with those languages, you have no option, because the client libraries are only currently supported in 8 languages only. Now, if it has to be done with C language, Lua, Perl, or using Postman, which is a Chrome add-on, then the option which comes to your rescue is REST API. So using REST API, I can create it in any language. So if the customer asks, can I create a database, a virtual machine using C language? Answer is yes. Simple, say REST API. So this is like your uh, the best bet. If nothing works, REST API is going to work out. So like how most of us escape or put a blame on traffic. Traffic was there because of which today I'm late. Or internet was not having an issue. That's the reason I was not able to attend the meeting. So uh, have some excuse. Similarly, here, if you want to, if you don't have any other option, this is going to be your fallback option. Fallback option is always go with REST API. Let me show you how it looks in REST API. It's going to be really raw, and that's the reason many times people don't prefer this. But there's one hidden secret behind this REST API. Let me show you once I show you the demonstration. So for this, we have already 4. Let me just refresh it. We have 4 buckets, folks. Let me now go to REST API. There's one website called as Google Cloud Developer APIs. If I go here, sorry, Explorer, I guess, Develop API Explorer. So if I just go to this, it shows all the Google APIs, not only GCPs, all other APIs, YouTube, Gmail, uh, search, all the APIs are going to be there. And if you want to search for storage, you search for storage API, and start doing the stuffs. Basically, this is for developers who wants to do something in the command line, in the REST API format. So just go to API Explorer. You come here, and what you want to do now? Create a bucket. Just click on buckets. It shows you how to create a bucket, how to do all those things. So in REST API, creating a bucket is called as insert. So click on insert. It's going to show what and all details you need to pass in. And to quickly show customer how REST API works, Google has something called as a try this API. So you don't need to write any code or anything. Just simply go fill in the form here, and it's going to use basically a raw REST API behind the scene to provision it. So to create a bucket, what you need is basically a project ID. So mention the project ID. So this is where the remembering the project ID can be helpful. So project ID, then you need to mention the bucket name, right? So I'm just going to slightly make this big so that you can see it, view. Name of my bucket. Just mention this. Call it as REST API raw. That's it. Now it's going to call my REST API. The actual REST API is going to be something like this: storage.googleapis.com/storage/version. This is the endpoint. This is an endpoint to call it. Now let me click on execute. When I click on execute, it's going to pop up a screen and ask me first authenticate. With which user you want to authenticate. So you have 2 users. Let me authenticate as the first user. Now if things are all fine, it should go ahead and create a bucket using REST API. So let's wait. It should show 200. HTTP 200 response is an indication that everything is fine. Let's wait. It's taking longer time. Whenever it takes longer time, little skeptical whether it can go wrong. Let's check it out. And sometimes this API, this part may have some downtime, but let's just verify if it's going to work out. It should not take this long actually. Let me just see whether something has happened here. Okay, it's nothing happened. Okay, it's created. It is created. The bucket is created. This is the thing. Now if I go live demo, folks, if I refresh it, you should see a fifth bucket. Awesome. Just now created. So if I just hit on my time, you see this is my time currently. So just created now. So I'm able to also interact via REST APIs. So this is like your backup for doing it. Now the hidden secret is in GCP, everything is REST API. This is like the mother of all. Your console, your gcloud command, gsutil command, your client library, all behind the scene, call this REST APIs only. Call this REST API only. These are all wrappers built on top of your REST API, but it is so raw that it's going to become very difficult for normal users. So that's the reason. If you are a beginner, you use console. If you are coming from a Linux background, you are going to be using command line. If you are a programmer, you are going to use client library. Uh, or if you want to do some integration kind of stuffs, REST API is going to help you out. So uh, that's the important thing. Going forward, right? We will not discuss anything on client libraries, anything on REST APIs. The reason is these are developer centric and we are not for developers. So our focus is going to be using console, using uh, the command line. That too in command line, most of the demos will be used with Cloud Shell. The reason is it's going to be faster. So if I do it on my laptop with Cloud SDK installed, it's going to be slower. So that is going to be the going forward strategy which we are going to do. And why I wanted to show you the slide was basically you should be prepared as a cloud architect to answer any questions. It could be an interview question also, right? If somebody asks, how can I programmatically create 100 virtual machines? Possible to do it. Use any of these client libraries, you can do it. Or you use your gcloud command itself. There are different options. So you know how to answer it now. So you're preparing for the exam, also preparing for the interview, and also getting prepared as a cloud architect. So those are the four different options which you can use. Uh, there's a fifth option. Basically, if you use iPad, iPhone, or Android phone, just go to those specific Play stores or iTunes, Apple Store. You can search for cloud, Google Cloud Platform something. You're going to get a app. That app is basically, assume you started a virtual machine and you are now in a taxi. Now you forgot to stop it. Now you don't want to open your laptop and go log in and stop it. Instead of that, use this app and go and stop it. For management purpose, you can use that app. So that's the fifth one you can use. Just wanted to understand, wanted to understand the purpose. Can you please share some use case for REST API via Postman? REST API via Postman is Postman is actually a utility where you can call any REST call, do any REST APIs, evoke it, all those things. The whole purpose is when you're doing an development, right, where you cannot write a code, you can use REST APIs basically. So as a cloud, we will use Postman in one of our example at a later point of time, where if you were to call something via REST API, you have to write a code. But if you cannot write it quickly, you have shortage of time, or you want to quickly test it out, you open up curl command and execute it, or you can use Postman. Postman is a graphical user interface. So if I can open up my Postman, so I can show, I don't have the storage stuff, but I can show you. how it looks, and I'll show you how you can execute some commands easily. Just put those endpoints, start evoking it. So you don't need to write a code actually. So it's going to be basically a UI based curl command is what I would say. So to quickly check your API is working or not, that's where we will use Vijay, the Postman add-on basically. Let me wait for it to come up. It's going to take little time for that add-on to come up. It takes time. Okay, it is come up. So it's spinning. So let's wait for it to come up. Uh, by the time it comes, we'll finish the next slide and come back. Basically, to test out your REST API, whether it's really working or not, without writing a code first. I usually, if somebody asks, can we check whether this REST API is working? I usually use this Postman add-on because I don't want to write a code to check it. So just put in I'll just ask, give me the endpoint, what parameter I should pass. Let me know. I'll just pass it. If I get a 200 HTTP OK response, I'll say it is all good. That's it. Let's wait for it to come up. Uh, so that's the end of our module one, folks. Took slightly longer, but I hope the concept was clear. Now, wanted to test your understanding. So please turn your mode into directly sending the response to the uh, presenter or to Mahesh, so that we will not bias others. Please make this, because don't want anybody to send the response to everyone. We will not bias others. Let's give others to comment also. Couple of questions. Both are really important questions. This is going to test out your skills. So what we have done. The first question, you are using cloud, is your private chat. So you are using Cloud Shell and you need to install a custom utility, some software, which needs to be used for few weeks, maybe like 10 days, 20 days. In which location it should be installed? So 2 minutes is what I'm going to give most of the time for you to answer it. Start mentioning it, and I'm going to give you the stuff. So if the answer is wrong, I'm not going to mention the person's name. Uh, if the answer is correct, I'm going to mention it. So far, Deepak Bandari got it correctly. Vijay Kumar got it correctly. Folks, this is Cloud Shell. First, understand what is Cloud Shell. What is its uniqueness? Then comment it. Don't think it as a normal Linux machine, please. So far, Vijay Kumar and Deepak Bandari got it correctly. Couple of wrong answers. No. Anil Kumar got it correctly. No. Only 3 people got it correctly. Shripal got it correctly. You can mention A, B, C, D. No need to mention this thing. So it's going to be easy for me. This is how you are going to get it in exam. Multiple choice, multiple select. Deepak, another Deepak got it correctly. Shanti got it correctly. Now, anybody else wants to try? And you see, there was a demo on this. There was a purposely created demo for the scenario itself I showed you. I could have told, okay, A is the right answer, B is the right answer. More like sharing a dump. But I wanted you to get the concept clear, then answer it. So let's go with the options and explain, see what is the right answer. Few of you got it wrongly in the initial, then corrected yourself. That's good. So make all the mistakes in the class. Please don't make a mistake in the exam. So the first option, user bin. This is going to be a possible option if it is a normal Linux machine, because in normal Linux machine, everything is owned to us. So I can install something. Again, if I restart it, it's going to be there. Now the key part is few weeks, meaning you want to retain this software for few weeks, at least for a week or 2 weeks, meaning you are definitely going to stop. Everything will be timed out. So every time it has to be persistent. The code should be persistent is what you are saying, basically the utility. So if I keep it in user bin, if I restart it or tomorrow login, it's not going to be there. We saw that in Apache 2, the one which we installed, just after restart itself, it was not there. So how can this custom utility be there? So it's not going to be there. Similarly, OPT will not be there because it's again not under that home directory. So the one which comes under home directory is this one, meaning tilde is the most important thing. I emphasize it heavily basically there. Tilde will switch to your home directory. That is what is your 5 GB persistent disk, PD. Inside that I create a folder slash home tilde slash bin means slash home slash Mahesh slash bin. So that if I keep anything there, it's going to be always persistent. All other things will be removed off. Hope it is clear, folks. Why C? Why not other options? People who gave it wrongly, at least now it should be clear, folks. We did this demo. So we did this demo purposely during the Cloud Shells class. That was the reason it went. I took time to explain it. Uh, Something on similar lines, I had got a question. So, uh, so something on the similar lines. So I should not share the complete question, but on the similar line, persistence, the data should be persistent, all those things. Something on this I had got. Thought, let me create a concept solution and explain it to you. Now, let's go to the next question. Your project has all its compute engine resources in West US, sorry, Europe West 1, basically Belgium, if I'm not wrong. You want to set Europe West 1 as a default region for all G-Cloud command. What should you do? Now, folks, just wanted to give you a small hint here to make you focus on a specific keyword. In some of the questions, I would have made it bold. I would have underlined it, just to indicate these are some important keywords which you should focus on. Go for it, folks. 2 minutes. It should not take 2 minutes. So default region. So far, Vivek got it correctly. Anil Kumar got it correctly. One wrong answer. Deepak Bandari got it correctly. Two wrong answers. So this is a kind of question which you get, which is testing your G-Cloud commands, basically. Mangesh got it correctly. Let me check whether I missed out anybody who got it. No. So far, only these people whom I mentioned got it correctly. Yes, Vijay Kumar. Vijay Kumar now got it correctly. Look for those small tips, folks. Yesterday we saw. Never underestimate a small tip, basically. So just keep it like this. Come to the tips, the cheat sheet which we have created. Look into this cheat sheet, then you will have an idea. So the cheat sheet is, the question is basically on this, folks. The question is basically on this. So that was the whole purpose we did this cheat sheet. Now look into it. 30 seconds, then we'll go to the answer. All right, let's look into the options. First one, use Cloud Shell instead of command line interface of your device. Launch Cloud Shell after you navigate to a resource in West 1 region, the West 1 region will be automatically set as default region. So when you launch Cloud Shell, what gets set as the default one, folks? Actually, when you launch a Cloud Shell, what is that gets automatically set by default? No. What is that which gets set automatically? Let me just show you.
The project name.
Correct, correct. The project is what it's going to be set. So I'm in batch 6. Now if maybe I'll purposely change it to another project so that you'll see that stuff. Learn GCP with Mahesh. This is the project which I'm going to be in currently. Now if I launch it, so these are the buckets which it has. Now if I launch it, so if I launch my Cloud Shell, so let's just wait for that to come up, folks. So it's going to be basically your project. You see this? This is a project which is set. The region and the zone is never set. Okay, so it is not set. So option A is wrong. Option B, use gcloud config set compute slash region. What they're expecting is region. And so region name they have mentioned to set the default region for future gcloud command. So this is something which is going to work. We had used something very similar in our class also. So where instead of region we had used zone because we had to set a default zone there. Here they are asking a default region. So and region ends with always a number. So that's good. So this looks like a possible option. This looks like a possible option. The next command, use gcloud config set compute zone, and they are mentioning a region. So basically this command is totally wrong because using zone is not the requirement. You have to make it a region. So instead of region, they are mentioning zone. That's the first mistake. The second mistake is they are mentioning zone, but they are using a region because regions end with number. Zones end with an alphabet. So that is again wrong. So this command is again wrong. And the last option is going to be a overkill. Use VPN from on-premise to a subnet in this thing and set the connection when you're executing it. So just to set a zone, you want a VPN and all. Overkill, I would say. So option B is the right answer. Few of you got it first shot. Few of you later corrected it. So, but the concept is now should be clear and you should be able to appreciate the small tip which we created. So the zone ending with alphabet, regions end with a number. Hope it is clear, folks. So that's the end of our module 1, which was basically the introduction, which took us to classes. First pick up, so we were taking little time to pick up and do all those things. So and there were some interesting questions also, which took us almost like 2 sessions. Now before I stop the day to answer what Vijay Kumar's question. So this is how the postman. So you see this REST API. So translation API. This is one API which Google provides. So if I want to call this, I just enter the details. I enter the details. What should be the body? What kind of HTTP request? Is it a get or a post? And I just call this and I get a response. So I don't need to write a code when I'm doing it in Postman, and it's going to be graphically supporting. And if you're comfortable with curl command, you can also get a curl equivalent of it by just clicking on this code command. So it's going to show various options, curl. So if I just go the curl equivalent of this REST API, so it's going to give me that. So that's one advantage of Postman. Similarly, if you want to write a code, you get a sample code in Node.js. Any language of your choice. That's the advantage of Postman, Vijay. So hope that is clear. Now, I guess we have 15 minutes. There's no point in starting a new one, but just wanted to get some confirmations, folks. Hope you are able to see your day one recording. It was a playlist, private YouTube playlist. If you have got it, no need to respond. If you have not got, only let me know. I'll check, is there any access issue which I missed it. So I don't get any response, then I can assume everybody's able to do it. And same is the case your Google Drive. So the stuffs which we had shared yesterday, you should be able to see it. Two other takeaway things. One is your videos, the recordings. The second one is the document, the materials which we are seeing. So if both you are having access, that should be good. And this access is going to be lifetime access. Videos would be the same video which you have seen. So maybe 6 months down the line, you want to refresh it, you can go refresh it. The articles which we see, right, the slides, all those things, it keeps updating, because every batch I go through it, or if any new concept comes, I keep updating it. It's going to be a running document. What you get is always the updated document. Okay, so that is one thing which I wanted to share. And one last thing which I want to share is, and then I'll go to Anil Kumar's question, which was on some slightly out of topic, but I wanted to answer it now. So if you come to your home screen, you see some news articles. And there's a new white paper released on designing and deploying data security strategy with Google Cloud. So I would strongly suggest you to look into such articles, folks. So this is really a nice article. It's a white paper, so always there's always a good place to keep these white papers. So you look into this white paper, you should get some idea. I've already uploaded this white paper for your easy access. So if I just go to my common, uh, just give me a minute. There's afterwards you can talk. So white papers, under common folder, there's a white papers folder which I have created. So deploying and designing security strategy. I just got it today. I have uploaded it. If you want, you can refer to it, folks. It was just uploaded today only. So I would suggest to look these things whenever you have some time, basically. All right, so that's something which I wanted to share. Now there's one question. Can you please suggest some best software to use to create software architecture other than Visio? Okay, good question. So let me answer this and then come back to Vijay Kumar's question. So I had mentioned this in one of my YouTube channel, a video, GCP icons. If you search for GCP icons, right, it takes you to a official website page where you get some options. You can use raw.io, Lucid Charts, Google Slides. I use Google Slides basically to do everything. Or you can also download the JPEGs SVG format and include in your diagram easily. So Lucid Chart is going to be better, or draw.io is going to be better if you want to create quickly, if you want. But a word of caution, draw.io, I have used it recently. When I just click on it, it just opens up, no authentication, nothing. So I don't know where they keep the architecture. It's a SaaS offering. Where they keep it, I don't know. Now, if I'm creating something for a government agency, an architecture, I should not use these kind of open source tools or free tools. I have to use something like which is enterprise grade, something like either Microsoft PowerPoint or Google Slides or Visio kind of stuffs, because it's going to be in your system itself. Prefer to use it. But if you're trying to do some for learning purpose, free of course, draw.io is a better choice, Vijay Kumar. But if you're doing it for a real implementation, I would say slides or PowerPoint. I don't know why you did not like Visio, but Visio is going to be a good one. Or try with Lucid Chart. But Lucid Chart is going to be a free trial account or something. If you want, leverage it. So this is what you can do. But I use mostly Google the slides in my this thing. Most of the time I create the architecture. Hope that answers your question. Now, Anni, because I don't have Visio license. No problem. So you can use then Google Slides. Would you please suggest any specific practice exercise materials to complete before the next session? If you have some time, you can just look into the slides. Actually, look into the slides. Practice the stuffs which we have given. Try it. But there's no prerequisite for the next class. Actually, if you still want to do some stuff, what I would suggest is uh, look for something like uh, cloud IAM GCP. Look at this GCP Google Next videos. So just search for cloud IAM, all Google Cloud Platform videos. If you look into, you will get some good idea, and you can ask some interesting questions also, if you want. But you can come without going through any of these articles also, because it's going to be a straightforward concept. But at some point of time, I'm going to ask you to look into some articles uh, when we are doing some dockerization, container concepts, all those things. But for next Saturday's class, no prerequisite, Shripal, so you can just come just after finishing your work stuff and all, you can come there. Any suggestions on Linux commands videos for basic understanding? I need to look, Kumar. I don't have any material ready which I can share, but I will just look into it. Any Linux commands, I would say not required is what I would say. So as we progress, you will learn some new Linux commands throughout our class itself. But if you want, I need to look into it, Kumar, to get is there anything really good. I need to look into it. If you have some access to Linux Academy or something, there is a specific course on basic Linux or something. If you get something free, you can use that. But I'll check, is there any cheat sheet or something which I can get from the public internet and share it with you people if you want. Yeah. If there's no more further question, Anil Kumar, you want to paste your question on shared VPC, because I did not make a note of it. Uh, you had something slightly out of topic. So if you have some questions out of topic, folks, we'll definitely answer it. If it is at that time out of topic, but we are going to talk about shared VPC at a later point of time. But today it is out of topic. So for the benefit, I'm discussing it towards the end so that we'll not dilute the class or divert it to a different this thing. So something on shared VPC service project was the question, Anil Kumar.
So the way we have is we have an organization under there. We have a lot of folders, and the VPC is on the organization level.
No, our
And
VPC is okay. Go ahead, complete it.
so the networks are being shared between the projects. Okay, what we call, right, host projects, right?
Yes,
Host
yes.
projects. So while I was creating the VM using the G Cloud, it is not allowing me to put in a specific folder or service project.
Okay, okay. So thing is that it is something like this. Okay, why don't I show, maybe for the benefit of everybody? So I'll just show this one. So the question which Anil is asking is, so you are going to have a network called as shared VPC, so which is going to be part of one project. It is not at an organization level. It is not at a folder level. It is basically a project where the VPC is shared. It is VPC as a service in very simple terms. There are other projects called as service projects where they don't need to have a network itself, but they are going to use this network and to create resources. That's in short what is shared VPC. We are going to do a demonstration in our networking class when the session comes at that time. So the question from Anil Kumar is, when I create a VM in Service Project 2, I'm not able to mention the what you are not able to mention, Anil Kumar?
So I can specify the VPC everything subnet to be used, but the project A, right? I cannot. Uh, the VM is not creating that project A. It is creating in the organization level. Service host project.
It is going to create in the host project. Okay, okay.
Yes,
It is creating.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So have you mentioned the hyphen project parameter?
Yes, I did specify hyphen project in project A. It is not accepting. It is accepting only the root or service host project.
Okay, so strange.
Is there any way we can specify the service
project?
service
Okay,
project?
now you're creating it in Cloud Shell or in your
Cloud
laptop?
Shell.
From your laptop.
Cloud Shell.
You're creating it in Cloud Shell.
And
Okay.
in the API too, we don't have these all options.
Okay. Okay. So I have done this via Terraform, Anil Kumar. So I was able to do it, but let me check whether with the gcloud command it is possible or not. So I'll check it out and I'll let you know. Maybe
Sure.
today
No
itself
problem.
I'll let you know. I'll also send it as a mail when people get it. So when we discuss that also we can do it, but I'll share you the details whether it is possible. Terraform, I have done this. Terraform, I have done it. It works actually. But gcloud, it should be there. Only thing is that some specific parameters. What? So if I recollect it properly, you want to create instance A in service project A, but you are not able to do it. But it's always getting created in host project.
Host project. Yes, correct.
Got it. Got it. I'll get it. I'll get it for you. So interesting one. Even REST API, I'm mentioning it is not possible because
yeah, that's right.
if you can do it in the UI, so I have done it in UI and REST Terraform.
UI,
so if it,
UI it is working, no issues.
So if it is
Terraform it works.
UI, yeah. So if it is working with UI and Terraform, they are definitely going to use REST API. So at least with REST API, it should be possible. gcloud command need to check. I've never tried it, but REST API should have worked because they rely on REST APIs only behind the scene. So strange. Let me look into it. Vijay, sorry, Anil Kumar.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions, folks? Sundays, I don't have a hard stop. Folks, if you have a hard stop, you can drop off. The session is finished. This is only for people. If you have some burning questions or something, I can answer you basically. Any reference architecture available in GCP like 3-tier applications, all those things. Okay, this is a good question. If I just go to GCP icons, if I click on this slides itself, right, it's not an empty slide. It's a template where you get some good architectures, boilerplate architectures, which you can use for your architecture creation. So easily, it's going to show you some few of the architecture. This is one source, and it's an official source. Let me wait for this to come up. It's going to load. This is one. The other one is GCP dot solutions. So this is another official website. This is maintained by Google Professional Service. So you can get some good reference architecture in this also. This is another thing which you can do. Where, say for example, if I look at some IoT or gaming, if I click on gaming, it's going to use Google resources and show how I can create a gaming application. So gaming analytics, if I just click on it, it's going to show various components. So it can help you to create some architectures. Instead of creating it from the scratch, you can use this as a reference and build on top of it. So other one is this Google slide, which we saw. It's going to have some reference architectures inbuilt in it. So it's taking time to load, but this is going to be somewhat helpful, Vijay. So check these things. It's going to be really helpful. There's one more question from Deepak. Okay. Deepak Bhandari. Is Google Cloud in Action a good book to supplement a learning here? So this is from Manning, if I'm not wrong. Deepak, in Action is usually Manning publication, if I'm not wrong. I'm not looked into this. I will check it out and see whether it is a good one, because I would say the best one, right? Let me give you a small tip. The best one I would say is documentation, folks. Everybody takes it from documentation only. So only the Googlers, they may get some information from the engineers, core engineers, and they can create some good concept videos, all those things. But remaining everybody is going to use documentation itself. So I would say referring to the documentation is going to be the best way rather than a book. But if you are a book fond of reading books, let me look into it. I have not looked into it, so I cannot comment on it. I'll look into it and let you know, Deepak Bhandari. So this one, coming back to Vijay's question, the screen is loaded. You can look into those architectures. There are some good sample architectures, something like this. For log processing, this is what you should have. For data warehouse, you get some sample architectures. You can refer to this Vijay Anand. Sorry, Vijay Kumar. Uh, I guess somebody has a question, or should I mute you? Okay. Is it a background you wanted to ask a question, or should I mute you folks? All right. Any other questions, folks? All right. If there's no questions, I'm just going to wait for a minute. If there's no question, we'll stop it. I'll send you the recordings. All right, folks. People started leaving.
A quick
I'll
question,
just do.
right?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Quick
Go ahead.
question.
Go ahead.
So if I want to create a VM using the API, should I create all the resources and then attach it to the VM, or is there any place directly with the API I can create the API Explorer? Just like a bucket.
So you have to finish. You have to fill in all the details. So you have to
But
fill in all the details.
it's not. I'm not finding the insert option for the complete virtual parameters.
Let me show you. So I guess I had done a video, if I'm not wrong, REST API. REST. I have a video on it. This one. Check it out. Provision using REST API. So this is the option. So what you should do basically is, I'll give you the tip here. So go create a virtual machine. Click on this create button, fill in all the details, whatever you want, specifications which you want. And at the bottom, you have that REST equivalent, right? REST equivalent. Let me just show you. So I have to close certain stuffs, otherwise it's not going to work for me. So fill in all the necessary details and you will definitely have this REST equivalent of it. So you get a complete details here. Keep this as your reference. Now go to your GCP API Explorer. Sorry, Explorer. Insert is there. I have seen it. So let me show you. Go to this.
I saw
search
but
compute version 1, not the beta. So you have to fill in every details, and the details should start. You can use this as your material to fill in those details, like zone. It has to be completely mentioned like this. Slightly time consuming, basically, if you were to do it with that. So instance, there are lots of stuffs here, so you have to use instance instance insert, this one. So
But
if I just go,
it is not giving me the complete options. Like it is giving me project, zone, request ID, source template.
let me tell you that. So once you
It is not giving me subnet at all of those.
all those details you have to mention it here. You have to mention it here. So if I click on it, you see the network interface. Then inside this, you have to add the item. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, now so you get this. So if you see here network interface, then you have to add kind, then subnetwork. That's how you are going to do it. So I have to add that item. Now I add subnetwork.
Okay.
So the reference for you is this one. This is going to be a reference for you.
Okay.
It's not documented very well, but it's
it is good. Right. Something is not right. But at the API level, you said at one point we can create 100 instances at one shot, right? So if I give the name, how do I say 100 instances to be created? Is there any maximum instances to be created and any option like that?
So you want these 100 VMs to be separate VMs, or is it a group? They belong to a group. Identical.
They belong to group and different zones, zone A, zone B, and yeah.
Okay, so but in one region they are going to belong to different groups, right?
Zones.
Sorry,
Yeah, zones. And
instance
they
group.
also the
Instance
instance
group is,
groups also. Yeah.
Instance group is what you can use it there. You can basically mention min and max. So min and max is what you can mention. So if you just go here, managed instance group is the option which you can use here. You get a REST equivalent of it also. Just need to look that. Okay, if I just go here, you see this instance group, insert, you will have min and max. Just mention how much, but you are going to be bound by your quota, how much VMs you can create in your project. So 100 will not be possible. You have to make sure you increase the quota, then only you can do it. So by default, it's going to be 24 if I'm not wrong.
Okay, but I have my corporate account.
Okay, so if you have a quota, if you have that quota, then you have to look for that min and max numbers. Insert. So first, let me show you in this thing. Manage instance group. I guess you would have seen it in the console, if I'm not wrong. Have you seen it in the console?
No.
Okay, let me just show you in the first in the console.
Normally, I create using the Terraform, right? But API
Okay. Okay.
Not a good programmer, to be honest.
Not required to be. So if you can modify the code, I would say that's going to be better.
That's what
so if you can modify. So if you can modify somebody's code, you are really a good programmer, is what I would say. So you have two skills. First, understand what that person wrote, then you are modifying it. So you are much more than a creator. You are a modifier.
Yeah.
So if I show you this in the things, instance group UI. So if I just go in the UI, you can mention it as min and max. Min and max. Now you mentioned it as 100. So the rest equivalent of it, I can get it here. It's the same trick. You have to use the same trick. So now look for this. This is the maximum replicas. So you have to mention this under your, this is a small script. So just use the same thing and you should be all good. So always come from the console. Look if you have a REST equivalent of it. That's going to give you most of the stuffs. Then you should be able to easily do it.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Awesome. Yes, you're welcome, Kumar. All right, folks, we'll stop it here. So I'll share the recording in next 2 hours or 3 hours. Processing is going to take that and resume back on next Saturday with Cloud IAM. Okay. Have a great
Okay.
week ahead. See you and thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.